of Chicago is located. One positive.
The Windy City seeing a 42% drop in drug arrests in the week since Mayor Lori Lightfoot ordered a citywide COVID-19 shutdown compared with the same time last year. Chicago's overall crime numbers dropping 10% last month, a trend playing out across the U.S. Much of that Chicago drop taking place because of tougher policies and gang truces, with limited movement due to the coronavirus likely helping out even further. Paul Stevens, Fox News.
It'll be tough telling who's who in their graduation photos.
More than 1,000 new airmen graduated basic training in Texas this week wearing face masks. The Air Force held a double graduation in an effort to move the recruits off Joint Base San Antonio-Lackland. Due to coronavirus, families were not allowed to attend the ceremony. Training is also being sped up, with airmen graduating in 7 weeks instead of the usual 8.5. Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Many of us grew up playing it, with their season cut short NBA stars taking the competition up a notch.
The NBA horse competition will tip off its quarterfinals this evening with a single elimination shot-for-shot game of horse featuring current stars for the WNBA and NBA, as well as recent alums. Today's quarterfinals will feature Trae Young against Chauncey Billups, newly announced Hall of Famer Tamika Catchings against Mike Conley Jr., Zach LaVine facing Paul Pierce, and Chris Paul taking on Allie Quigley. This horse competition is being done entirely remotely, each star on their own court in accordance with social distancing guidelines. The hoops action starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
That's Matt Napolitano. I'm Jane Metzler, and this is Fox News.
GRMC's Neuroscience and Neurology Department treats a wide spectrum of disorders associated with the nervous system, spine, and brain. Some of the more common disorders include seizures, epilepsy, dementia, sleep disorders, migraine, and stroke, which is one of the leading causes of death on Guam. GRMC's neuroscience team is equipped with the latest technology and the finest neurological doctors. To make an appointment, contact GRMC Specialty Clinics at 645-5500.
Let's all do our part to stop the spread. Changing the way we bank can be one small way we keep our distance but still get things done. Whether you need to check balances, transfer funds, pay bills, or deposit a check, our online and mobile banking solutions are here for you 24/7. Whenever you want, wherever you are. Terms and conditions apply. For more info on all our banking options, visit bankofguam.com and follow us on social media for more safe banking tips. We're in this together. Bank of Guam, the People's Bank. Member FDIC.
Social distancing math. Tossie is infected with COVID-19. She still goes out because she and her friends think it doesn't affect them. Tossie infects 3 friends. Each one infects 3 more. In 30 days, 244 people are infected, including someone's Nana. Most recover, but Nana dies. Reduce your social contact. If you only infect 1 person, in 30 days, the virus spreads to only 4 people. Stay home, stop the spread, save lives.
Today and good morning. It's 6:06. I'm Ana Silva Tyron with a look at your local news from the Guam Daily Post. The legislature will resume session again this morning, and with a number of bills on the agenda that seek to bring relief to Guamanians affected by the coronavirus pandemic. A couple of bills in particular are drawing the ire of individuals who want to ensure their constitutional rights are not given away. Bill 334 and 335 in particular. Bill 334 would impose penalties, including jail, on anyone violating an executive order during a public health emergency, while Bill 335 grants additional authority to the governor that she's been seeking to enforce a curfew and checkpoints that could result in citations for those in violation of the executive orders. With those bills on the session agenda, a protest is being planned outside of the legislative building. Ray Gibson, talk show host of The Point, inviting people to join him in expressing their opinions as senators vote on how much power they'll give the governor. Gibson says our rights are important and people should show up and make sure that the senators know how many of us refuse to be abused. Gibson's encouraging residents to wear masks, bring signs, and practice social distancing to demonstrate against the dictator bills, what is, as he calls it. For those who don't want to venture out for fear of getting into trouble, Gibson says to reach out to lawmakers and demand that they vote no on Bills 334 and 335. Well, at the same time, a local organization is seeking senators' help in making sure the open government law is upheld, even during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Vigilance Committee, which seeks to promote government transparency, asked Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes and other senators to, quote, act with justice. They gave the Speaker draft legislative language that essentially would allow public participation in government meetings, provided that the executive directors enforce social distancing during these meetings. The committee has been protesting Governor Lou Leon Guerrero's order suspending some provisions of the open government law so that the government can decide and act quickly on COVID-19 response. The initial order suspended the requirements of notifying the public of government meetings and allowing the public to attend those meetings. A succeeding executive order eased some of the restrictions by allowing the public to attend government meetings by phone or internet. Since March 25th, the Vigilance Committee has been asking the governor's office to release copies of public records citing specific sections of the Organic Act of Guam, laws and rules and regulations that grant the governor the authority to suspend the open government law in part or in whole. Over the weekend, health officials recorded the fifth death related to the coronavirus. The 79-year-old woman was admitted to the Guam Memorial Hospital on Friday and had pre-existing health conditions. She had no travel history. 2 new confirmed cases were also reported from testing conducted by Public Health on Saturday, and that brings Guam's total COVID count to 133. No tests were given yesterday because it was Easter. 58 people, they say, have recovered. A sailor from the aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt, meanwhile, has been moved to intensive care at the Naval Hospital and another admitted to a regular ward. There's been 447 sailors who have tested positive from the carrier, and it's been reported that majority of them are asymptomatic, with less than 200 with symptoms. There are about 5,500 sailors on board, with 3,000 of them having been placed in local hotels for a 14-day quarantine while the ship is being disinfected. More news after this.
As a GovGuam designated urgent care center, FHP Urgent Care is here for your urgent medical needs. Go to FHP Urgent Care instead of going to the hospital during this COVID-19 pandemic. FHP Health Center operates Saturdays through Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and is closed on Fridays. FHP's Cancer Center, Adult Medicine, and Pediatrics Department are also open for limited services and availability. FHP Home Health Department is open to care for patients at their homes. Call 646-5825, extension 8174. FHP, our island, your clinic.
If you were out and about this Easter weekend, you might have been caught in a traffic jam as the governor has activated the Guam National Guard and Guam Police Department to conduct roadblocks along some of the island's major roadways. The Guam National Guardsmen wore a heavy cloth over their face with blue latex gloves as they read from a prepared statement, which stated, "You may use this road if you were going to or returning from work, a medical facility, grocery store, or other essential activity." The Guam Daily Post was told that those who weren't on the road for essential purposes would be told to turn around, in line with the governor's directive to stay home unless it's for essential activity. Closures will last every day from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and they are set up along Route 1 by Lucky Supplies in Dededo, Shen's Furniture East Agana, Calvary Chapel near Fisheye Marine Park in Assen, and along Route 8 by the Shell gas station. As National Guardsmen and Guam Police set up at the road closures, the Daily Post received questions about the legality of these roadblocks. The Post sent questions to the Attorney General's office, and they have said that part of the office's purpose is to represent the government in legal matters, and the OAG will continue to assist the government's response to the unprecedented threat of COVID-19. And with all the restrictions on what people can and cannot buy in this public health emergency comes a reminder that selling or trading marijuana for anything of value remains illegal until the rules and regulations are in place. Rules and regulations were to have been in place this month. However, the pandemic response has placed the meeting for the Cannabis Control Board on hold. Member Adrian Cruz, representing the Department of Agriculture, says that the board worked tirelessly for months to get the draft rules and regs in place by March, but the process has been halted. Seeking public input, he said, will also be a challenge because of the social distancing and stay-at-home orders. They do say that they are communicating with Senator Clint Ridgell and seeking solutions due to the extraordinary unforeseen circumstances. Now, Senator Ridgell, author of the recreational cannabis legalization bill, said that he will be writing and asking for an update on the rules and regs. He does remain understanding, though, on the priority of the government in its response to the COVID-19 outbreak. Now, recreational use of marijuana is allowed by law For individuals 21 years and older, the law also allows individuals to grow marijuana at home. And those are your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now's Ray with your weather.
Did I sent you the picture of mine, right?
It's so cute.
They look like little baby Yodas, little tiny baby marijuana plants. They look just like little baby Yodas. They're just, just this kind of, you can see the leaf is going to start to, what? It's legal. I'm allowed,
He's
right?
proud of you. That is
I am proud of you.
He's proud of you.
Okay.
It's cute.
All right. It's cute. Look at it.
But do you even know what to do with it after it grows?
No, I gotta give it to Joe.
There's like a process. You have to go look
Joe
it up
said
on YouTube.
you have to sex the plant, determine whether it's a male or a female or something like that. And then there's Joe said.
Now he's blushing.
Joe, you said you got to figure out what the gender of the plant is supposed to be.
You got it down.
Right, and then at some point, you find about 5 minutes ago, sunset is going to be at 6:33, about the same time, about the same place that it has been, and some just outstanding sunset pictures through the weekend. I didn't get hardly any sunset at all. You know why? Because the governor in Executive Order 2020-09 told me I can't drink beer at the beach.
Buzzkill.
What's the frickin' point? What? You're just gonna go up and now? I did on Friday. Take my beer to the beach because I have that kind of a civil disobedience. I was flouting. There was flouting. But up and down the beach, there were still a lot of people on the beach, and they were out doing their exercises. Mm-hmm. Guam is going to be the healthiest place in the world because now that's all you can do. If you don't have to cross a checkpoint to get to Epal Beach, go for it. Go for it. You get down into Tumon.
Well, I don't think they'll stop you if you're on foot. They're just stopping vehicles, right?
Yeah, but not checkpoints, road closures.
Right.
Or ambushes is another term that we like to use. Anyway, 6:15 in the morning, that's news and weather together, brought to you by Bank Pacific, banking on the Pacific for 65 years.
As we stand up to coronavirus by standing back with social distancing, Bank Pacific reminds you that you can come to the bank without going to the bank. Use many of our other delivery platforms like online banking at bankpacific.com, accessing cash at our ATMs, shopping with our debit cards. For businesses, we have secure cash and check drop windows, and we are employing a new smarter mobile app with remote deposit capture in the next few weeks. We're all in this together, and together we will win. Bank Pacific. Where others put branches, we place roots. Member FDIC.
Hafadade, this is Carl from APL Guam. Here at APL, our expertise and extensive network can help you grow your business and reach out to more markets. As a responsible carrier, APL is also committed to a sustainable future. Whether it's protecting the environment or investing our efforts in giving back to the community, our dedicated team in Guam and on the U.S. mainland are here to support you. Call 588-4651 or visit apl.com.
What kind of jokes are allowed during quarantine?
Inside jokes.
God bless you, DDB. Says, half a day, Guam, stay home and stay safe. And if you need to be out, Wendy's is ready to serve you with affordable meals and drinks. Drive-through only. The real deal for value and variety is waiting for you over at Wendy's. Portions of the program also brought to you by APL, American President Line's global presence with a local home.
The Ray Gibson Show. Morning talk that matters. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Funniest thing I'm going to see all morning. Denise Chrysostom online this morning. What kind of jokes are allowed during quarantine? Inside jokes. You get it? Inside. Is it? Oh man. Okay. If I spend too long, if I got to explain it, it's not going to be funny anymore. 888-825-5880-TALK is the telephone number here at the radio station. Hit me on the WhatsApps 988-5874. That's 988-5874. And what I don't have this morning, I've got there's two pieces of video that I'm looking for this morning. Be a big help if you've got them. Has anybody got the video of the what is it, the Chinese spy rocket that fell to Earth on what was that, late Thursday night, early Friday morning? First of all, what were you doing out? Isn't there quarantine? And second of all, why were you looking at the sky? What did you think you were going to see up there? So there's videos out there. And Joe, when I get them, don't play the audio. Do not play the audio.
Okay.
Because I did see a couple of them over the weekend. I did see a couple of them on early Friday morning. And there's you know what? It's like we all took lessons from the what's his name, Modley, right? You know, the guy that fired, the guy from the Teddy Roosevelt. Anyway, big stories that we're going to be talking about all morning long. 888-8255. But hit me up on the WhatsApp if you got those cool videos. The other one, Mon is looking for it right now. Because here's the problem, and I probably shouldn't do this. It was a 3-day weekend for us here at the radio station, which means that there's stories and very cool memes that are all piled up now, and I can't remember where any of the good ones are. So there's two pieces of video that I'm looking for. Send me the videos of the falling stars, the shooting stars on Thursday, Friday morning. And also, where's the video? It's out there, right? Where's the video of the Easter Bunny getting arrested in Tumon? Did you see that?
I did.
I'm alarmed.
Well, I don't know if he got arrested, but he was also on the beach.
He was accosted by the yellow shirt, the guy in the yellow shirt.
And then there was a police car that
I
pulled
did see a
up.
picture of him with being entertained by the squad car. So we got those things coming. The only thing I think we need now to make it complete is the image of Santa Claus getting pulled into a squad car because he's not wearing a mask.
Now he wasn't violating any rules by being out walking. He was by himself. He was wearing a mask.
Right. So what?
A mask.
That's how ridiculous things
They
are.
should have tased him.
There is,
you're so
I've seen all kinds of just ridiculous stuff. There was one of these.
Go to your WhatsApp.
Like an MP guy in the United Kingdom telling people, scolding people because apparently they were flouting the rules on what you could and could not buy, what essential items were. And he actually went in front of the television cameras and said that he would station people to look inside your shopping trolley. That's what they called them. Inside your shopping trolley to make sure that you were only buying essential goods. There's another image of, and it looks like it's in Southern California somewhere. There's a guy running down the beach all by himself. There's nobody else there. All of a sudden, two police officers see what he's doing, and then they start chasing him. They start chasing after this guy in the sand. Now, here's one of this is a truism, and I hope we don't have to embarrass any of our officers here. But the runners have got better cardio than you. And so it almost looked like the guy was teasing the cop, like letting the cop get close, and then he'd pull up a little bit, and then the cop would get a little bit closer, and then he just all of a sudden just opened it up and said, "Okay, I'm done here. I can see I'm at the quarter-mile mark. We'll see you later." And there's the cop just huffing and puffing in there. There you go. It's just, and then there was a guy on a bus in Philly.
Oh, the guy they ripped off the bus?
Yeah, did you see that video? What is it, like 4 or 5? There was a guy got on a bus in Philadelphia, and apparently he did not have a mask on, which is, that's a big capital sin these days. And so the police were called, and 3 or 4 of them pulled him physically off the bus.
They had a hard time, though. He's pretty strong.
He was a big guy, but he was saying the entire time, "I'm not holding on to anything. I'm not holding on to anything." It's just I don't know what it was with these cops. I'm going, there's nothing better to do. There's no other crime being committed. And okay, if the rule is you have to wear a mask on a bus. But if you don't have a mask, maybe it would have been easier if the bus driver had handed him one. Oh. Look, I've got a box of masks here. And rather than make a big deal and a huge ruckus, here is your mask for the 1 or 2 incidental guys that are going to show up without one.
You go back and you listen to what the president said. He said this is an option. It's optional. It's not mandated.
Wow. It's just crazy what's going on.
If you want to wear a mask, and if we're socially responsible when we're out and about, we do wear masks.
I was out and about, and I wore a mask. The only time that I didn't wear a mask over the weekend was yesterday, and I went. I'll tell you exactly what I did. So a friend of a friend owns a bar. And the bar, obviously, like all of the other bars in town, have been shut down. She's not in business anymore. And so she's got, for the last 2 weeks, her chillers, the little coolers, have been running trying to keep beer cold that nobody's going to drink. And so she had this idea, maybe I'll just get rid of all of the beer that's in the coolers and then turn them off so I don't have to pay the electric bill. Sound like a brilliant idea, right? And so she did, called this guy because she knows that the guy has lots of friends that like to drink beer and other assorted spirits from the bar. And so he sends me a note, says, come on by here. I know you like Corona beer. I got plenty of Corona. You like Michelob Ultra. I got plenty of Michelob Ultra. So I was able to get, all of this beer at wholesale prices. But it's just me and my buddy. Just me and my buddy talking, and that was it. As far as I know, I wasn't breaking any law. It was I did not have to cross over a checkpoint. Sorry, road closure. Sorry, ambush. I didn't have to cross over any of that stuff in the morning, and that was it for all intents and purposes. He might have been the only human companionship that I had over the weekend. The only other human contact that I had. And maybe I'm hoping that was okay. I don't know. I got to check with people. There is now a thing. I don't know if you saw it on Facebook yesterday, but there is now a thing where somebody was really upset enough to post it on Facebook that their neighbors on Easter Sunday, my God, had some kind of a gathering, some kind of a congregation.
Snitch.
Wow.
Exactly. And that was the question. Who do I call? Where do I call for this kind of thing to turn them in?
311, isn't it?
It's 311. You can call that number if you want to. If you really think that there's that much of a threat going on to you and your safety, that people over there across the property line are having a get-together. It's Easter Sunday. What do you kind of expect? I don't know. 6:25 in the morning, 888-825-588 TALK. Probably got enough time to get through the top 10 this morning. And then a little bit later on, I'll explain my idea. Monica called it a protest in the news. I don't know, protest, just demonstration.
The Post called it.
Did they? Okay,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I guess
You're
protest.
a protester.
I don't know. Protest planned as session resumes. So it was one of two ideas that I had in my head, and I'll explain it on the other side of headlines. But let me take care of at least the top 10 here.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. Glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name.
Oh, that's just a nice thing. Debbie Canetta is online. She said good morning and thanks for the best show ever. That's awesome.
Good morning, Auntie Debbie.
The best show ever was Thursday. The best show ever was Thursday because we didn't have to come into work on the next Friday. God, I got a ration from people. Woke up on Friday morning, despite the fact that I told everybody all week last week that we weren't going to be in on Friday. There's all these people like Jim Brooks, this isn't a GovGuam holiday. Get your butt back to work. What's the matter with you? Your father would have worked. Your dad would. John Anderson would have worked on Good Friday.
And I'm the one here bucking for every single possible holiday. Is today off?
How about today? It was Monday. How about the 5th of May when the thing is when it's called? Anyway, Marlou Berseman comes in at number 1 today, followed by Tony and Ned and Pinko. Ada, the family that listens together stays together, trying to sort out funerals in 2020 up in with the new COVID virus and all of that. Yoichi Rengel is online. I see my buddy Ismael hanging out with me this morning. There's Nate Horn, Alex Afflegui, Gary Shonalls, Tom Tahadzi, J.B. Nicholas, who you spent time with.
We were at church together yesterday.
Virtually.
Virtual church.
Got to make sure it's virtual church because there's
and then he left early.
Did he?
I was watching. Yeah. Where did he go? How come? Oh, he left.
As soon as the communion's over, just keep walking straight outside, right? And Pam Duvall, who's all excited about the demonstration or protest, whatever you want to call it. We're everybody's mixing words up here these days. All right. So as I explain why. And the thought process that's going through my head. First of all, number one, they had a session. This emergency times, right? These are emergent times. It's urgent that the legislature spring into action. To allow for the governor to have additional powers that can be lopped up on the title, 10 or 19 or whatever it is. So we got to, the legislature's got to leap into action for all of that. There's other stuff that took their attention on Friday, and I watched maybe, I don't know, and I watched the good version of it, right? I watched the version that was narrated by Troy Torres. And after a while, with all the recesses, even Troy ran out of crap to say, right? Even Troy, and it finally got down to, I remember the first time I'd ever watched the legislative session, and that's how you know. It's just we're not locked in anymore to the political parade that's in front of us, because there had been so many recesses, and frankly, it was on a bill that I don't know any more than about 20 people on Guam cared about. Everybody was watching to see how they were going to act on 334 and 335, but that didn't happen. So an entire weekend goes. We go from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Today is Monday, and they're going to get back in there. And so wait a second, is this or is this not an emergency? Now, you used to be over at the legislature. You would think that by the nature of the word emergency, right? We're not having public hearings on these bills. They're just we're throwing them out there to meet some kind of necessary, timely demand. Well, it wasn't all that timely over the weekend, was it? And regardless of whether the legislature took action or not, the governor certainly took action in her attempts to control the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, I don't believe that there's an emergency anymore. I think there ought to be some kind of a public hearing.
Well, the thing that was causing the delays, it was almost as if they were trying to figure out how to make an amendment. And there was a long break that Sabina Perez took because she couldn't figure out where in the bill she wanted to place the amendment. I mean, think about these things before you sit down at your desk.
But
so maybe throughout the weekend, they took the bills home with them, read them, and then have their amendments already prepared.
Maybe some of that speed things up.
Yeah, so when they go into session today, they might be better prepared.
But when did Committee on Rules send out the agenda? My understanding was like just before the session. Right before the session. And none of the members of the Republican minority were very, very happy with all of that. So that's one of them. That's one of my ideas. I think that because there have not been any public hearings on these measures, there has been time that has elapsed, and there is room for people to put together rational arguments one way or the other for all those measures. And I don't think that the legislature should work in a vacuum as it makes these decisions on what powers they want to give to the governor of Guam, what kind of penalties they want to apply to things like breaking curfew or drinking beer on the beach and all of that stuff. We started the roadblocks yesterday, the checkpoints. Mm-hmm. You know what? It's good. I'm going to call them checkpoints because that's what they are. We started the checkpoints Saturday. Mm-hmm. With very little notice, and so far there are no penalties in the state of Hawaii. And our cousin Freddie was just gaga over this. They're putting people. They want to put people in jail for 60 days.
Wow.
For messing with the checkpoints out there. And I can't believe that there are people that are standing up and applauding this. Like, what is this? This is so great. People are breaking a rule, and we're going to put them in jail for 60 days. Really? For that? For this? And somebody's got to explain to me, give me some really, really good explanations, which are also lacking these days, on why these measures make sense. So I thought, a demonstration or protest, whatever you want to call it, over at the legislature might be high time. I'm amused because one of my real lefty buddies goes, "Oh my God, Ray, you've always been so conservative. You're thinking you want to wear the Guy Hawks or whatever his name's mask from V for Vendetta, and you're asking people to go out there and protest." And I'm like, dude, why aren't you? Where are the hardcore lefties on this? Where is the ACLU today? They seem to be on some kind of a vacation. Now, the other idea that I had was there's a funny meme that's floating around. Let me see if I can get the meme on. But it really got me thinking about something that I think is an important conversation that we have to have. Is I hope the meme says, I don't know if I've got it ready to go this second. It says, I hope that we are done with this by the 4th of July so we can celebrate our independence. Right? And yeah, I mean, at first blush, it's funny. But wait a second, our freedoms are being challenged, I think. And so my second thought was, let's have an Independence Day. Let's have an early Independence Day, and let's declare ourselves independent from all of these reach-arounds into our liberties. You realize that there was no church yesterday. Everything was virtual. Everything was online. And finally, now there's somebody from the Department of Justice says when the dust settles on this, we are going to have a conversation about governments and state governors shutting down the churches and referring to those assemblies, those congregations, and calling them out as illegal. Well, there's a whole other list of things like that. I want to have an Independence Day party. I want us to go down to the Joseph Flores Memorial Park and we'll all barbecue and we'll bring our guitars and drink our beer in front of God and everybody. And if everybody does that all over the island at all of the different beaches, are they going to be able to arrest us all? Will they be able to, this is the same idea behind that raid on Area 51. You know what I'm talking about is we just get everybody all at the same time flouting these unnecessary rules, and that will be our Independence Day. And see where it goes. Of course, there might be some people that think, Ray, you have a dangerous mind. And that's all right. Maybe that's why you listen. 6:30. Oh, my God, look at the time. 6:34 in the morning. We'll take a look at the rest of the folks lined up on the Facebook Live. But first, we got to jump into our first look at headlines. Now, with news from the Guam Daily Post, Montecilva Tyron.
The legislature is back in session this morning, and two bills that will give the governor more authority to impose her executive orders will be on the agenda. Bill 334 and 335 would impose penalties, including jail, on anyone violating those executive orders. 335 gives the additional authority that the governor wants to seek a curfew and set up checkpoints along Guam's roads. At the same time, a local organization seeking senators' help in making sure the open government law is upheld even during this COVID-19 pandemic response. The Vigilance Committee has been protesting Lou Leon Guerrero's order suspending some provisions of the open government law so that the government can decide and act quickly on the COVID response. And health officials recorded the fifth death related to coronavirus. The 79-year-old woman was admitted to GMH last week, Friday, and had pre-existing health conditions. They say she had no travel history. 2 new confirmed cases bring the island's total number of confirmed cases to 133. No tests were given yesterday, but they do say 58 people have recovered from COVID-19. And those are your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, you can pick up a copy of the paper, log on to their website at postguam.com.
All right, on screen right now, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, thepoint.gu, where our video feed goes, is a picture of the Easter Bunny. This is in Tumon. It's not too far away from the Bank of Guam down in Tumon. It is a guy. We figured out those Zoris. They're from Kmart, right? Somebody on Facebook did the review
here. Is that
here.
essential? Is that an essential purpose?
Essential purchase, yes, of the Zoris. I think. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Somebody's going to have to go. Now you've distracted me. There's somebody who's just unbelievably ticked off because they can't get somebody in the essential items. Police has decided that these little puppy pads are not essential. And aren't required. You see that on Facebook? Yeah. So here's the thing: puppy pads. There are some. I'm not one of them. If I was to train a dog to be an inside dog, I'd train it to go outside, right? So I mean that's what you want the dog to be able to do. Some people say, well, the puppy pads. And I go, yeah, but the puppy pads still the dog's peeing inside. So if there's no puppy pad for the dog to go on, what's it going to do? So you got to make sure you train the dog to be able to announce when it wants to go outside. All right. That being said, tomato, right? There are people that have got their dogs trained for puppy pads, and they're down with, just replacing the puppy pads, same way cat owners would change out the litter box, right? But they've decided, somebody in the essential goods police decided that puppy pads are not essential, which means that all over Guam, dogs that were trained to go on puppy pads are peeing in the house. That's not healthy. Somebody's going to have to clean that up. So we were talking about essential goods. But there it is on Facebook Live, picture of the Easter Bunny being accosted by a yellow shirt down in Tumon. Hopefully his response was, I don't have to talk to you. You're not a real cop. And maybe that's... Maybe that's what happens because later on, there's a picture of the Easter Bunny next to a squad car. Don't know what's going to happen, whether or not any charges were filed or whether the guy was just made to go home. I don't know. But for me, it's just kind of interesting that somebody decided to do something like that on the Easter weekend. So where were we? 6:37. What was I supposed to tell you? I was supposed to do something, right? Oh, yeah, iConnect time. iConnectGuam.com. So it was a long weekend for me. Yeah, it was good. And that's iConnect time. Go to iConnectGuam.com of the World Wide Web if you've got questions about mobile internet. Or try this, guys in business that are still in business. Push to talk. Great way to communicate with your team out in the field. 6:37 is iConnect time.
Today, this is Congressman Nicholas. The federal government is making $7 million in small business disaster loans available for small businesses impacted by the coronavirus. If you would like more information, please contact our office at 671-475-6453 or our local Small Business Administration office at 671-472-7419. You can also email our office at michael.sanicholas@mail.house.gov. God bless you and God bless Guam.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael F.Q. San Nicolas.
Portions of the Ray Gibson Show also being brought to you by the guys over at Subway. 14, 15 different locations that we've got here on Guam. Footlong BMT, 9-grain honey oat. Thank you very much. Can I get that through a drive-through? Yes, you can if you're buying all the way up in Jigo. Portions of the program also brought to you by the guys over at Orkin. And I saw one of those kinds of bugs in the house today. I don't know how it got inside. I don't even know what kind of bug it is. I'm not going in that room until the Orkin guy shows up. The number is 646-7546.
Cocoa Coffee Company mugs are now here. Show pride for your island as you enjoy your delicious Circle K coffee. Each generously sized 16-ounce mug is etched with Guam-inspired images like Chief Gadao, Serena, Two Lovers, and many more. The Cocoa Coffee Company mug collection is available for a limited time only, so don't miss out. Get yours today and collect them all. Exclusively available at Circle K locations. A portion of the proceeds go toward the Cocoa Bird Recovery Program.
Well, I'm working on it. Where's the music? All right, time to take a look at what's going on in the world of traffic. You know what? The governor turned off my traffic gizmo. I can't see anything on the gizmo. Well, I tell you what, I'll look at it again in a couple of minutes. In 20 minutes, it's going to be 7 o'clock in the morning, and generally around this time, maybe a little bit of intersection traffic. I can't imagine there's going to be too much because the governor scared everybody into staying home because they don't want to have to cross any of those checkpoints and risk somebody breathing their coronavirus breath on you. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot by way of traffic. And if there is, it's probably going to end up being just intersection traffic. Like I said, check again in a couple of minutes. 27, it's the Ray Gibson Show on The Point.
One of the easiest ways to prevent the spread of COVID-19 is to wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Let this message help you time it. Start soaping up now. The virus can survive in the air for 3 hours, on copper for 4 hours, on cardboard for 24 hours, and on plastic and stainless steel for 72 hours. Disinfect phones and common household surfaces like tables, doorknobs, light switches, countertops, toilets, faucets, and sinks, desks, including computer keyboards and kids' toys. Choice Broadcasting reminds you to stay safe and stay clean. You can rinse now.
Wow, nice smile. So perfect and all.
Thanks. I owe it all to Dr. Robert Yang and his Smile Team. They do wonders for a healthy, happy mouth.
Got teeth? Don't wait until they hurt. Schedule your routine checkup and cleaning with Dr. Yang and his Smile Team. Suite 119 in the East-West Business Center, Upper Tumon. Call 647-8702 or 3.
The best thing that happened to teeth since toothpaste.
Dr. Yang and his Smile Team.
They make smiles happen.
Well.
The Coconut Wireless is back. The Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Monday morning, some interesting headlines, including this from my buddy Brad listening out in Texas. FBI exposes coronavirus scam after 39 million masks promised from overseas failed to reach California hospitals. The FBI uncovered this. The union representing healthcare workers were never delivered. They were expecting 39 million masks. Service Employees International Union, United Healthcare Workers West, announced on the 26th it identified a distributor overseas who was willing to sell 39 million critically needed N95 masks. The union said it secured the deal after 48 hours, calling leads and potential suppliers to help find PPEs for healthcare workers on the front lines of the crisis. An unidentified businessman in Pittsburgh reportedly was helping the union contact a broker in Australia and a distributor in Kuwait on WhatsApp to secure the deal. Scott Brady from the Western District of Pennsylvania told the LA Times, "We believe we disrupted fraud. We are seeing fraud in every variation, but mostly in respect to N95 masks. We have an anxious public and resources are strained." So the FBI is watching all of that, see what's going to be happening. Curious, though, whether that's going to have an impact on us. California, all of a sudden, was feeling like they've got an excess of goodies, medical goodies, and they were going to send a bunch of ventilators and things like that out to Guam, wondering if that deal is still on after these guys get ripped off. Richard Fee sends this now. Cops can now issue $100 fines for breaking the stay-at-home order in Philadelphia. Remember I was telling you about the guy getting dragged off the bus? The police state there continues to grow. Cops in Philly can now issue citations, some with tickets of up to $100 to those breaking social distancing guidelines. Citations can be issued to people out in public who don't follow the statewide stay-at-home order, according to City Manager Brian Abernathy. All residents who are not essential workers or who are not performing essential tasks like buying groceries, seeking medical help, or exercising can be fined if they're found outside their homes. Tickets will cite residents for failure to disperse or disturbing the peace. The $100 penalty is the first amount already associated with these violations. The stay-at-home order by Governor Tom Wolf currently is in place for all of Pennsylvania. Public group gatherings, in particularly, will be noticed for violating the stay-at-home order, since residents should not be outdoors except when going to or from essential businesses. While outside for activities like exercise, people should practice social distancing and stay at least 6 feet apart from each other. And that's the new big story that is coming out of Philadelphia. $100 fines.
So you see a cop, you just start doing squats.
Yeah. Just wear your yoga pants everywhere you go. Sweats all the time. 6:44 in the morning. Ken Leon Guerrero, you can find him in this morning's Guam Daily Post in the letters to the editor of the forum section. The government has crossed the line. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning.
Wait a second. Are we still allowed to greet each other, right? We're still allowed to do that?
I'm not sure, because the special.
Are we supposed to raise our hands or something like that? We're supposed to some kind of salute. Heil.
Well, I think one of the commentators in the comments, they talked about how when we get out of our vehicles from now on, we're supposed to turn and face the Agania Library and go down on our knees and bow to the mural. We're getting there. That's what the purposes of these laws are. She's not happy being the governor. She wants to be the dictator, and that's the purposes of these laws, because the way they are written, they're written very loosely. And I mean, let's take, for example, the restriction against public hearings and things like that. Over this past year, I've documented a number of cases where boards and commissions met in private and gave themselves massive pay raises. And the last time the legislature met in an emergency session, it was because Ray Tenorio didn't have enough money to fill his Christmas list, so he sent down the bill for the massive retroactive pay raise. That was an emergency as far as the legislature is concerned. So that's why we have to be very vigilant. And I applaud the Vigilance Committee for staying on that.
Michelle is my new hero, among others. There's 3 or 4 people that are really, really excelling, I think, in the last couple of days at making sure that the government is at least aware that people are watching. And I think what's it, Michelle Armamante or something like that? Just a pit bull. She's awesome.
Yeah. And we need more people stepping up like that, because our senators have gotten very complacent. And we can tell. All we have to do is look at the trail of legislation the 35th has introduced, everything from legalizing casino gambling to the lowering the age of sexual...
so-called Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, the Romeo and Juliet bill. Now we lowered the age of sexual consent, down to 12, So there's a lot of problems with this legislature, and this bill shows it, because they're called into emergency session. I guess the emergency was they just needed to get out of the house like the rest of us, because when we watched that session, for every minute they talked, there were 37 minutes of silence, it seems like. It'll be interesting to see if they did their homework, and maybe we have more talk. And all the talk is, we've heard from the people, we've rethought this, and, these bills aren't a good idea, because under the governor's existing authority, Non-essential businesses are closed, and you're not allowed to buy get well cards at Kmart and Payless because those are non-essential. And like you said, the puppy pads, the governor's declared them non-essential.
I'm trying to figure. And I'm trying to figure out why. What difference does it make if you're already in the store? So I went in to buy bread, milk, and eggs, and I decided that I want to get something different. I wanted to get an Easter basket, and I can't get an Easter basket. Just walked into Payless, and Payless got a big sign in the front that says, "We're just not selling essential goods anymore." They used to have a nice little flower thing on the right hand side just before you get to the produce section, and it used to be filling little bouquets and things like that. Just a way of saying I'm sorry or thanks for last night or whatever. But you can't even get that anymore because somebody has decided that it is not essential, and I'm trying to figure out why. Was there a clamoring? Was there a great outcry from all of the other general merchandise, dry goods stores here on Guam that were saying, "Hey, if we're not allowed to be open because we sell Easter baskets too, how come Kmart's allowed to be open? They got Easter baskets." I didn't hear that. That's the only reason why I believe that step has been taken in other parts of the country was because of a fairness issue. But I'm not hearing, like I said, a big cry from the guys over at Kwang Wah saying, "Oh, wait a second, how come you can buy towels at Payless, but you can't buy them from me?" I'm not hearing it. What it sounds like is it's like they saw it in a news story about coronavirus from the States and said, "Oh, we got to do that too. We got to do that too." They're doing checkpoints there? Are we doing checkpoints? Oh, okay. AG said we can't call them We'll do the same thing, but we'll call them road closures. Right?
Yeah.
It just seems to me that they're looking around for all kinds of idiotic ideas that are spreading across the country and saying, "Oh, we need to do that here. We need to look like we are doing something. So let's do that." And
I'm waiting for them to introduce the bill banning wood stove because there's a big concern of the wood stove smoke because people are going back to burning wood because they can't afford gas because they're out of work.
Yeah.
So wait till our legislature bans burning wood.
I'm dying to find out whether or not you can buy seeds. One of the other stores online, I think it was somebody over at a Home Depot somewhere, noted that they had put the seed section off limits in the store. So wait a second, you're controlling our access to the grocery store, and you won't let us grow our own food.
Yeah, it's the same thing like how do they determine what is vital or not? Puppy pads and cat litter are vital to pet owners. But a lot of pet owners, myself included, alcohol is not vital. So why are places allowed to sell alcohol, but I can't buy?
Hey, shut up. We're done talking. Get out of here. Shut up.
Am I going to see you at the legislature this morning?
Yeah, as soon as I get out of here, I'm gonna leave and go. It's got my name on it, and so yeah, I suppose I ought to go and at least look at them as they walk in, and go. Okay, you guys are coming for people's rights, and I want you to know that the last right that you're going to be able to get out of me is my right to be able to yak on the radio as much as I want to. And so vote the wrong way. Vote what I consider to be the wrong way. And I'm taking it personally. I am taking all of this very, very personal. This is not, ha, you voted against the bill that I like, or ha, you voted for a bill I hate, any of that stuff. You're meddling now with people's rights. This is the same government of Guam that could not keep 2 swimming pools blue, and then the guy that was in charge of that quit because he was sick, but then he comes back working at a whole other department and agency, and as I said on Friday, it's an Easter miracle. He is risen. Well, Richie Banez is risen. So I'm going, wait a second. This inept and incompetent government now wants to be in charge of my inalienable rights? No.
Yeah. Well, today's session is supposed to start at 9 o'clock, and I encourage everybody to go online and watch it online.
It won't start on time. I got plenty of time. It'll start around 10 by the time I get there.
I know, but senators are going to be watching the live count. You can tell that everybody on there was watching one of the live feeds with the commentary because they're all sitting there staring at their cell phones during the many lengthy recesses watching the comments flying, I'm sure. So for those of you who can't get down there, I'm going to be down there at 8 o'clock because I want the senators to have to walk past me to get into the session.
Good man.
And a few other people will be there. We're going to set up a gauntlet of shame. where senators are going to have to walk past us, and we're going to let them know what we think about these bills as they walk past us. So that being said, they're going to come in the back way because they have a secret way they can get in that is off limits to the public. So, but they're going to know we're out there.
All right.
But for everybody who can't be there, if you're watching on live and they're looking in there and they're seeing, I think Thursday's session had something like about, at one point there were like 900 people watching, through the different feeds.
Yeah.
So when they're watching those numbers, they're thinking, oh my God, August is coming.
They can see where I'm at. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go. I guess I wanted to riff on this for a second. That's the other governor, LG, Kenley and Guerrero. There's probably the short version of that is actually go over 2 pages in today's Guam Daily Post to take a look at that, talking about Bill 333 and 334. And at least one senator is out of the echo chamber. I don't know if I heard about it because it was on Candid News over the weekend, but apparently Joe S. San Augustine. Hey, I'm not sure anymore about these bills, Newt.
No way, bro.
You got, the governor is asking for a lot of powers. I think she already has those powers. What time is lunch? So I'm not going to vote on these 2 bills. Joe S. and Augustine is pulled, and he was a sponsor on both of them. Both the Gang of 5 and the Gang of 6 legislation. And for those of you that are paying attention, now 335. This is the one that would give the governors additional powers. Through an executive order, may implement a curfew for all residents. And let's be very careful about this because they're talking about a curfew in a time of peace that would affect all of us, not just the thug kids that you got running around the villages making the dogs bark all hours of the night. We're talking about all Guam residents that would be subject to some kind of a curfew. And now, here's the thing, as I said before, in my head, there's a curfew that is taking place in a time of peace. We are not being invaded by anybody, despite what you might have seen late Thursday night, early Friday morning. There is no imminent invasion. There is no threat yet of any kind of civil unrest. So there's no requirement for a curfew. And I talked to 2 or 3 people with MD at the end of their name, and none of them could give me any kind of rational look that up in a legal dictionary. Rational reason why a curfew would do anything to stem the spread of the coronavirus. So why do it? Why give the governor that power if it does not? If it ain't going to stop coronavirus tomorrow, then it's just going to annoy the freedom-loving people of Guam. Here's another one. Through an executive order, limit all movement other than, quote, essential business, maintenance of life sustenance, and emergent medical needs. Now, as we've joked around with cards, greeting cards, get well cards, and puppy pads, who gets to decide what's essential around here? Is there a comitea that we're supposed to go to that will determine what is and what is not essential travel? Me going to meet up with my buddy to go get beer yesterday, would that have been, even though it was just the 2 of us? As much as possible, maintain some degree of distance.
In
right?
New York,
Reasonable,
alcohol has been
distance.
deemed essential.
Alcohol has been, I'm sure. So I was going out to get for me, an essential thing, right? Got a great price on Mick Ultra, I gotta say. But anyway, but at some point, somebody's going to say that's not essential enough, Ray. And I'm sorry, but in order to halt the spread of the coronavirus, I'm going to have to ask you to never leave your house unless it is for this or that. You need to go to work at the radio station. And with the powers that are available to the governor, and this is something that there are a couple of us in the business that are rather chilled over. We got a business license. Never mind the First Amendment. We have a license that allows us to do business here on Guam. Absent that license, could I be silenced under these powers? Yeah. If I wore my "Make America Great Again" hat, and it irked somebody over there. then they could say that's you know what, that's not essential. You wear a different color hat. I think Bob Klitsky made that argument over the last Thursday, right? 6:57. You got to be careful on what and powers we give for these guys. 888-825-5888-TALK. There's a couple of other things I think that are kind of interesting. And if you've got thoughts on this, call it a protest, call it a demonstration, just call it a bunch of guys hanging out over at the legislature. They're supposed to go into session at 9 o'clock. It would be nice if they saw you standing there with your mask and maybe a sign that says "Vote No, Baba" on Bill 334 and 335. Go ahead and do something like that. You won't be alone. I'll be down there. Don't be afraid. You make mistakes when you're afraid. I saw that in Polar last night. I watched Polar again because I love the guy's mustache.
Somebody needs to bring a hearse and park it in front.
Oh, man. The drama department. See, that used to be, where's Oyal Niradikel? And it was Oyal and who else over at the governor's office, the drama department? I think it was her when she was there. But I don't know if that was her idea. But anyway, so yeah, maybe some. My God, people. But if we save just one life is the other thing. 6:58 in the morning. 888-825-5888-TALK. On the Google alerts for Guam, I took a look at that in the last couple of hours, and as you might imagine, any of our little tussles and our concerns about any First through Fifth Amendment rights that some people feel like they're getting stomped on. The other big story about Guam is the Teddy Roosevelt. The Teddy Roosevelt. You want to talk about it. It has been referred to by some as a week's worth of chaos. You got the chief of the boat, the captain of the boat, and he sends out the SOS. It leaks out. The guys over in the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. and the Department of Defense lose their minds, and they, what is it? They released it. He wasn't fired. They don't like me using the word fired, but eventually that's the way it ends up to be. But so they took this job action, and then Modley, the boss, comes out, and the big story now is people asking why, in these tricky economic times, why this guy spent $243,000 to come out here and make a point. Couldn't have done it in an email. Couldn't have done it in a WhatsApp. No, he had to get on the airplane and do that. And that's why there's all kinds of other people that are delighted that he's not there. But the new piece of drama, the new wrinkle, and this will get the old vets talking like a hen party, is they're talking now about reinstating the guy. Right? They're talking about bringing him back and putting him back in command of the USS Teddy Roosevelt. Maybe more on that in the Fox News Live that's coming up here in just seconds. Radio station is KUSG. I got you. It's still another action-packed, fun-filled 3 hours ahead on The Ray Gibson Show on 93.3. This is The Point.
A somber Easter Sunday. I'm Jane Metzler, Fox News. No big family gatherings, no packed church services either. With more than 530,000 cases and coronavirus deaths topping 20,000 in this country, we're social Easter Sunday. People facing fines if they don't.
In Greensville, Mississippi, police shut down drive-in church services and threatened to issue tickets to worshipers who refused to leave the King James Baptist Church's parking lot, despite staying in their cars at a safe social distance after the city's mayor banned in-person church services. In Louisville, Kentucky, drive-in services at the Fire Christian Church allowed to take place today after a federal judge ruled the mayor's ban on drive-in style gatherings was unconstitutional. However, that will not be the case in Kansas, where the state Supreme Court ruled in favor of the governor's order limiting religious gatherings to 10 people due to the coronavirus.
Fox's Garrett Tenney, President Trump watching an Easter service on his laptop, sending out this message.
We're winning the war. We'll be back together in churches right next to each other. Celebrate, bring the family together like no other. We have a lot to be thankful for.
Pope Francis had an Easter message, too.
He said, with Christ, hope, too, has risen. He called for the end to self-centeredness and indifference and asked for eternal salvation, the dispelling of darkness, and to be led into the light of a glorious day that will last forever.
Fox's Amy Kellogg. Recovering from coronavirus, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson out of the hospital, though not cleared to go back to work. He says National Health Service, doctors, and nurses saved his life. A massive storm system threatening lives from Louisiana to the Tennessee Valley. It could trigger tornadoes. America's listening to Fox News.
If you've ever struggled for breath, you know what a scary experience it is. Whether you have asthma, emphysema, COPD, lung cancer, or another respiratory illness, the right medical treatment makes all the difference. GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic has the latest technology and respiratory equipment, staffed by world-class pulmonologists. Make an appointment today with GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic and start breathing easier. GRMC, where patients are partners.
Let Chili's To Go do the cooking for you. Open to satisfy your cravings for delicious burgers, tacos, and ribs, or feed the whole family with all-in-one platter offerings. We're all in this together. Receive a 20% discount on all regular to-go orders. Call 648-7377 to place an order. Chili's will bring your food up to you curbside. Visit Chili's Guam on Facebook and Instagram for more info. Chili's, you can still savor the moment at home.
OPEC and other major oil-producing countries agreeing to a big production cut to keep the industry from going under. Gasoline selling for 90 cents a gallon in some U.S. cities. The state of Illinois has more than 19,000 COVID-19 cases and nearly 700 deaths, most in Cook County, where the city of Chicago is located. One positive?
The Windy City seeing a 42% drop in drug arrests in the week since Mayor Lori Lightfoot ordered a citywide COVID-19 shutdown compared with the same time last year. Chicago's overall crime numbers dropping 10% last month, a trend playing out across the U.S. Much of that Chicago drop taking place because of tougher policies and gang truces with limited movement due to the coronavirus likely helping out even further. Paul Stevens, Fox News.
It'll be tough telling who's who in their graduation photos.
More than 1,000 new airmen graduated basic training in Texas this week wearing face masks. The Air Force held a double graduation in an effort to move the recruits off Joint Base San Antonio-Lackland. Due to coronavirus, families were not allowed to attend the ceremony. Training is also being sped up, with airmen graduating in 7 weeks instead of the usual 8.5. Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Many of us grew up playing it, with their season cut short NBA stars taking the competition up a notch.
The NBA horse competition will tip off its quarterfinals this evening with a single elimination shot-for-shot game of horse featuring current stars for the WNBA and NBA, as well as recent alums. Today's quarterfinals will feature Trae Young against Chauncey Billups, newly announced Hall of Famer Tamika Catchings against Mike Conley Jr., Zach LaVine facing Paul Pierce, and Chris Paul taking on Allie Quigley. This horse competition is being done entirely remotely, each star on their own court in accordance with social distancing guidelines. The hoops action starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
That's Matt Napolitano. I'm Jane Metzler, and this is Fox News.
Guam is home to strong and resolved people. As an island, we regularly deal with the destructive forces of nature together. We at Security Title know that when the storm passes, our families and neighbors will join together to clear the debris, to barbecue whatever is thawing in our freezers, and get back to the business of wholeheartedly living our lives. As our island struggles with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, let us remember that this too shall pass.
Cocoa Coffee Company is now available at Circle K. Single origin coffee beans carefully sourced and locally roasted to give you the freshest cup of coffee Guam has to offer. Grab a cup that's brewed every 30 minutes or purchase a bag of the locally roasted whole beans. Flavors now serving: light medium roasted Ethiopia and medium dark roasted Jamaican Blue Mountain. Exclusively available at Circle K. With every Cocoa Coffee Company purchase, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Cocoa Recovery Program.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,600 by calling Family Finance in Agutya at 475-4545, Upper Tumon at 647-5626, or in Dededo 633-4473. Family Finance, serving the people of Guam since 1959.
Good morning. It's 7:06. I'm Mana Silva Tyron with a look at your local headlines from the Guam Daily Post. The legislature will resume session this morning, and a number of bills are on the agenda that seek to bring relief to Guamanians affected by the coronavirus pandemic. A couple of bills in particular drawing the attention of individuals who want to ensure the constitutional rights are upheld. Bill 334 and 335 in particular Bill 334 will impose penalties, including jail, on anyone violating an executive order during a public health emergency. Bill 335 will grant additional authority to the governor that she has been seeking to enforce a curfew and checkpoints that could result in citations for those people in violation of the executive orders. And with those bills on the session agenda, a protest is being planned outside of the legislative building. Ray Gibson, talk show host, inviting people to join him to express their opinions as the senators vote on how much power the governor will get. Session starts at 9 a.m. People are also encouraged to reach out to their senators to voice their thoughts on bills 334 and 335. Well, Republican senators are reaching out to the White House and the U.S. Department of Interior to speed up the federal reimbursement for war claims. About $11 million in local funds were used to advance war claims payouts to Guam's World War II survivors earlier this year, as Guam waited for the passage of a bill that provided the mechanism for the federal government to pay the claims. The president has since signed that bill into law, and federal officials are taking over payments to war survivors, but local officials are awaiting the federal government, the repayment of $11 million into the general fund. Minority senators want those reimbursed funds to go directly toward tax refunds. The GOP senators have asked that the Interior Department urge the U.S. Department of Treasury to release funds owed to the government of Guam so that additional tax refunds may be issued. Meanwhile, Guam's executive branch continues to pay tax refunds as directed by the court order. As of last batch, tax refund checks were being sent to people who filed tax returns by November of last year. Well, a local organization is seeking senators' help in making sure the open government law is upheld during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Vigilance Committee giving the Speaker of the Legislature some draft legislation that would allow public participation in government meetings, provided that the executive directors enforce social distancing during these meetings. The committee is up in arms over Lulian Guerrero's order suspending some provisions of the open government law so that the government can decide and act quickly on COVID-19 response. More news after this.
GRMC's cardiology department treats most complex heart problems. In our catheterization lab, cardiologists use imaging equipment to treat clogged arteries that can cause heart attacks or heart failure. We perform balloon angioplasty, stenting, and other life-saving cardiac procedures. If you suffer from a heart condition, have your provider refer you to GRMC's cardiology clinic at 645-5500. GRMC, where patients are partners.
The island recorded the fifth death related to COVID-19. The 79-year-old woman was admitted to Guam Memorial Hospital on Friday and had pre-existing health conditions. She's also said to not have any travel history. 2 new confirmed cases were also reported from testing conducted on Saturday by Public Health. This brings Guam's total COVID-19 confirmed cases to 133. They do say that 58 people have recovered. Well, the local numbers don't take into account the USS Theodore Roosevelt sailors who've tested positive. 447 of them testing positive so far. One person has been moved to the intensive care unit at the Naval Hospital. Another also admitted, but to a regular ward. And the Guam National Guard and Guam Police conduct roadblocks, will continue conducting their roadblocks today along some of the island's major roadways. Closures are said to be a means to keep roads clear for essential traffic. They will last from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily and will be set up along Route 1 in Dededo, East Agana, and in Asan, and along Route 8 by the Shell gas station. As National Guardsmen and Guam Police set up these road closures, the Guam Daily Post received some questions about the legality of the roadblock. The Attorney General's office says that it will represent the government in legal matters, and the OAG will continue to assist the government's response to the unprecedented threat of COVID-19 on Guam. And those are your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now's Ray with your weather.
7:11 in the morning. What have we got? Partly cloudy skies today with isolated light showers. Southeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Daytime highs 89 degrees through Tuesday night. Partly cloudy skies. More of those isolated light showers. Light and variable winds as well. So this would be a good time tonight, tomorrow, to go out and get some I'm running in, because we're not talking about winds that are going to slow you down as you're running into the headwind, which I frickin' hate more than anything.
You have to hold your hands out like this.
I just hate it. Overnight lows about 75 degrees. Daytime highs over the next couple of days should be about 89 degrees. Sunrise tomorrow morning about 9 after 6 o'clock. It's coming up a little bit earlier these days because people need to get their days started. So they know as wake up, have breakfast, watch Tiger King, take a nap, wake up, watch another episode of Tiger King, take your middle afternoon nap, and then start worrying about dinner, and then get into bed by about 7. We've got sunset tonight, should be about 6:33 for those of you that are paying attention to those kinds of things and wondering where it might be that you can go and watch the sunset and have a cold one. I'm developing a list. They'll never find me. It's 7:12. That's news and weather together here on The Point.
As we stand up to coronavirus by standing back with social distancing, Bank Pacific reminds you that you can come to the bank without going to the bank. Use many of our other delivery platforms like online banking at bankpacific.com, accessing cash at our ATMs, shopping with our debit cards. For businesses, we have secure cash and check drop windows, and we are employing a new smarter mobile app with remote deposit capture in the next few weeks. We're all in this together, and together we will win. Bank Pacific. Brothers but branches, we place roots. Member FDIC.
Day. This is Congressman Nicholas. The federal government is making $7 million in small business disaster loans available for small businesses impacted by the coronavirus. If you would like more information, please contact our office at 671-475-6453 or our local small business administration office at 671-472-7419. You can also email our office at michael.sanicolas@mail.house.gov. God bless you, and God bless Guam.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael F.Q. San Nicolas.
7:13 in the morning. That's the new way to pronounce it. You remember when they first it used to be just C-H-A and now it's capital C, capital H-A. It's the same thing. It used to be San Nicolas, now it's San Nicolas. Where are we? Portion of the Gibson Show here, brought to you by the guys over at Guam Regional Medical City, the first choice for your specialty care needs, and American President Lines, global presence with a local home. And my favorite, the guys over at KFC. They're right up the street from. Now, did you say there was a checkpoint there?
It's right next to the KFC in Barragata.
Really? Is that where it was?
Yes.
Huh.
By the show.
So if I wanted to, though, I could go right up to the KFC, get my meal, and then out without crossing the ambush line, right?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I didn't see it, so I just saw pictures.
Well, here's the thing. They'll deliver is the other thing. And they've got a way that they can do that so that you are not actually ever going to be in contact with the driver. The way it works, you call them up at 300-3278 and say, yeah, can you deliver it over to my house? And the guy will bring it by, put the food in a bag, put an envelope in the bag. You take the food, and then you're supposed to put the money in the envelope. Right? You're supposed to do that. That will conclude the transaction, and go ahead and enjoy some KFC for your day after Easter lunch and dinner. 7:14. Let's be right back.
News to fill your mind. Talk to get it out. The Ray Gibson Show.
Very cool. A couple of people online this morning I want to do shouts to. Chris Bianchino is there. My running pal Doris. Peter Lombard. That's Dr. Peter Lombard. And I encourage you to, if you can't right-click his name, just copy and paste it, and then go to his website. He has been doing an outstanding job, unofficially now, has done an outstanding job of keeping track and graphing a bunch of numbers associated with COVID here on Guam. Some really interesting stuff, and I'm not prepared to talk about it now. I don't have the thing in front of me, but it's interesting as you watch the number of cases rise, and we are at 133 cases. That's 133 total cases. It doesn't mean we have 133 working right now. And I'm going to take issue with the way they're talking about this over at the JIC and at a variety of other places. We need to get out of the habit of talking about, because it's an obsolete number, the number of cases we've had. So 133 confirmed cases. So what? Not all of them are working right now. We need to take a look at another couple of other numbers, and one of those is hospitalizations. The number of people that are actually being put into hospitals, because that's the scare, isn't it? It's going to overwhelm the system. But how many patients were we talking about last week that weren't in the hospital? It's like 70.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big number of them.
big chunk of them that aren't sick enough to go to the hospital, and the ones that are generally probably have some other kind of comorbidities. So we need to keep an eye on that number, and for two reasons. And then the other number to look at is the recoveries, and they don't always tell you how many people have recovered. The other night, I had to reach out and ask Crystal, because it wasn't part of the JIC report, how many people had recovered that night, and so the total of recoveries in the last, not counting yesterday, because for some reason they didn't work on Easter. I'm trying to sort out that. I didn't realize COVID was taking a holiday break, so we're just not doing any tests on Easter, reporting anything on Easter. But the number, it almost doubled. It was like 33 on one day, like Thursday, Friday last week it was 33, and then you look at it yesterday, it's 58. That's a pretty significant jump in recoveries, don't you think?
Before you get to down the road on too much on recoveries, come back to me on that, because
sure.
There's a lot more to say about recoveries. Go ahead.
And I'm dying to hear. But I think the other part of this is we need to stop selling fear. I want us to get out of the business of selling fear. You will read all kinds of other. There's editorials that will say it far better than I will, and one that's been posted pretty widely on Facebook from I think it's the Washington Times, that talks about how fear is the real selling point here. This is how they're controlling us.
There's two things. There's fear and there's caution. So, I mean, you can say that it's about fear, but, when you're dealing with something like this, you have to use caution.
Absolutely.
So,
and there's at no time have I ever advocated for anything less than a cautious and realistic and rational approach to all of this. But
the trouble is, rational is a moving target on something like this.
Disagree.
Well, okay, and we can disagree.
Yeah.
But there's so much that is not known. I mean, I read pretty deeply into a lot of sources about this. There's a lot of disagreement, and I'll give you one area, and that's recoveries. When this thing started, I picked up on a video series from a fellow named Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong. He happens to own the Los Angeles Times. But more than that, he's been a career researcher, as a medical doctor and a researcher into infectious diseases and the immune system. Okay. That's been his territory. He came out early on after getting information about this virus, the particular one, and said that this thing runs 35 to 38 days. Okay, that from start to finish. Now, if you get symptoms on average, they say around the 5th day, then you can start counting from that point. If at somewhere around the 25th day, someone says to you, you're clean at that point, Soon-Shiong would disagree with that, because there's a thing called virus shedding. Remember load shedding in the old days? This is a little bit different.
They changed the name of that, too.
Okay. Well, shedding means that over time, over the period of the next umpteen days, then you are going to be releasing virus, which simply means you're still contagious. So I'd like to know how GovGuam calculates a recovery. Now, I understand it's when you test negative for the 3rd consecutive time is when they say you have recovered. I'd like to see the timeline on that, from the point they say you're no longer positive to how many days does this total thing run? Because a lot of research has gone into it saying you're not yet.
There might still be some. There might be recurrent.
Not yet.
There might be recurrent flu in your system.
No, that's something else. No. But they say that you still have the virus, you could still infect somebody else. In Korea, in South Korea, they've had a resurgence now of people who are retesting positive. What they don't know is it a matter of being reinfected, or it's a matter of they have the original virus and it's not yet gone. So, there's, like I say, it's a moving target. There's a lot of stuff out there that has question marks on it. And so to take one source and say, that's it, and I'm going to go with that one. It's difficult.
And so, but at some point, we've got to, whether it's sourced out, whether it's committed out, but we've got to come up with some kind of rational decision on how we'll know when we're done, how we will know when it's time to move forward. And you can't put up your hands and say, we'll never know, because there's so much unknown. At some point, we've got to turn the island back on.
4 months into this.
We've got to turn the economy back on.
We're only 4 months into this virus.
4 months is forever.
Well, but the trouble is, every day they're discovering something new. And Dr. Fauci has said, the virus will tell us what we have to know. I mean, I understand the thing about the economy.
Yeah.
But you look at the other side of the coin, where are you going to get your information from? And the trouble is there's no one source that has it, and many of them disagree. That's where you caught.
This is the new climate change, by the way.
Yeah,
and I've eked out, like I have on climate change, I've eked out a position where I'm just I'm not buying into a lot of the hype that's associated with it. 7:21 in the morning, and a couple of things that I've got to get through before we get to the other extra point. Seems like we have 2 or 3 extra points here in the morning these days, don't we? And I'm loving it. From First Hawaiian Bank, they've got some updated hours of operation in branch business from 9 until 4. They are closed on Saturdays and Sundays. Drive Up always open, seems to me, from 8 in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday through Thursday, and 8 to 6 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're closed, but do like I did. I pulled up to the ATM yesterday and was able to take care of all of my business. And you know what I forgot to do after I was done with the ATM?
What is that?
Disinfect my hands.
Oh.
Oh, no. Are we going to be okay? What? Get Fauci on the line. Get the White House on the line immediately. So you got that going for you. And I was joking around about the Tiger King a second ago. And I probably shouldn't, because every time I think that in my mind, that means that you've hit the absolute bottom of the barrel when you are scraping. If that is the last of your entertainment choices left is Tiger King, you have hit rock bottom.
I haven't seen it. I must be the only one on the planet.
You and I are both. You and I both. I've been avoiding it because
guys.
I don't want to admit that I've gotten that low.
I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is.
Tiger King.
I know it's on Netflix, but I have no idea what it is.
Netflix is bringing Tiger King for one more episode.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Life goes on.
You gotta watch it.
All right, it'll be Thursday.
Is this the one where Trump pardons him?
No, wait. It will release an 8th episode of The Tiger King titled The Tiger King and I on April the 12th. Wait a second. Today is the third. It should be today then. Because it's the 13th on Guam, and that means it's a 12th in Netflix land.
Ooh.
See, bye, guys.
The episode is an after show hosted by comedian Joel McHale. I don't know. Do we know who Joel McHale is?
He's a funny guy.
Is he as funny as the guy that says go to jail?
He does the Walking Dead the after talk.
Oh, the after talk on the Walking Dead? Never seen that either. Okay. Gotcha. It's 7:23 in the morning. And now Ken Leon-Guru in the last hour of the program made a remark, and I have to apologize. It's one of those things where we probably should have hit the button on the 7-second delay. He was talking about how alcohol is not essential. Not only do we believe that it is essential, number one, but a German health expert claims drinking alcohol can protect against the coronavirus.
It cleansed from inside.
The guys in an interview, I won't read the entire story to you, but in an interview that he had on German television, they were talking about different ways that you might be able to do it. Speaking on the show, Health Issues, Dr. Rislin was asked whether regular drinking could have a preventative effect. The presenter was passing on a question from a viewer, and one wanted to know if it was a good idea to drink alcohol to kill any viruses they might have swallowed. His response, yes, of course, that's true. The expert replied, and the higher the percentage of alcohol, the better it is. For example, if you're a whiskey lover, then that certainly isn't a bad idea. But of course, you need to bear in mind that you can't do that every 15 minutes. That's something else to consider. We're going to have to agree to disagree, as Jerry and I have done here on portions of the program. Are we really advising our viewers to drink high-proof alcohol? The presenter interrupted. The medic stood by his position, saying, I would say can't do any harm, although we need to remember it's not a guaranteed cure for the problem. Later, he explained that he wanted to make it clear the virus was susceptible to alcohol because it has a fatty coating on it. And the alcohol apparently would get in there and disrupt the coating and make it susceptible to...
What was the thing I did? I think it was called conviction bias. You remember that? This is where you have an opinion on something and you go searching for news that supports it. I think that's what we've just witnessed.
Shut up.
I'm sorry.
Well, I support
It's
his
out
findings.
there. Whatever you want, it's out there. Whatever position you have, you'll find it. Keep digging. You'll find something to support what you want. It's there.
And in Joe's case, Twinkies are good for your heart.
That's right.
These are unprecedented times.
Out of an abundance of caution. You know, if we save just one life, here, we can underline everything with that.
It's about quality of life anymore, you know?
Don't come to me now. I'm not ready to do this.
That's okay, because I actually got this. I got to pass along. This is from Jim Moylan, and for those of you that don't know what a dog whistle is, you're about to find out. Jim Moylan is reminding me to remind all of the senators, please announce for emergency session, all those authorized to enter the Congress building can only do so at the back entrance. The front door will remain locked to control access. All the senators shall enter in the rear door. Now you're going. Why would Jim tell me this? You know why Jim would tell me this? So that any demonstrators, protesters, anybody that wants to make eye contact, because you can't talk to them directly because you got the mask in front of them. But if you want to get in front of them and make some kind of contact, they will not be going through the front door,
They're
guys.
going to go through the rear.
Sorry.
Can you tell we're related? It's 7:27, and time now for Jerry Roberts and today's. No, you still not ready? Are you? You got to catch your breath.
You give it to me now, and you're just going to pay the price. All right, I'll do the best I can.
Brought to
Because
you.
after all, I mean, someone told me one time I was a professional.
That's right.
I think I'm going to rip down that impression pretty quickly, but go ahead.
Here's the thing: is it's just look. There's everybody on the island is watching this show right now.
And Lent is over.
You might be a little bit demented. I'm not sure, but it's possible.
You know, because I have been holed up like everybody else.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. You know, I always had the impression that of all the kids, I thought you were the one that was really more squared away. And now the impression has just been.
And that's true. Just give you an idea how messed up all the rest of us are. I mean, if that's the high watermark in terms of class and in this family, you just imagine where Shelley and Dave are.
Give me this stupid intro.
It's 7:28 in the morning. The Extra Points brought to you by the team over at Guahan Insurance Services and First Hawaiian Bank. Additional hours for you in the drive-through and additional opportunities to go and get your banking done with them. Also, if you have not yet, go find the form and fill it in. Turn it in sba.fhb.com.
That's .com.
Yep.
While everybody is totally focused on doing their best not to catch SARS-CoV-2, there is other news to talk about. A few stories today you might have missed. That's next on The Extra Point.
As COVID-19 spreads and is now officially a pandemic, Guahan Insurance Services is taking additional safety measures. We are continuing to service your needs, and we are here for you, online and by phone. Our location is temporarily closed to the public. Please call 475-1162 for immediate assistance. For more information, please visit our website at guahaninsurance.com. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation as we get through this together.
Yesterday, I was going over some news items that some folks may have missed. Things like, number one, the U.S. Postal Service is in financial trouble. Well, that in itself is not news. They always need money. However, they say the pandemic has resulted in a catastrophic drop in mail being sent. They're asking for about $75 billion in order to balance their checkbook. Number two, the crazy world of social media has a new star. An 88-year-old grandma sent her family a video where she sang happy birthday to herself over the burning candles on her cake. She blew all the candles out and sent the video to her granddaughter, who posted it to TikTok. Granny had over 3 million views as of a couple of days ago. 3, with all their protective gear on, hospital workers look a little bit scary to patients. So they've now taken to taping photos of themselves on their chest. Patients have become more comfortable as a result. 4, a wealthy donor in the town of Earlham, Iowa, population 1,450, decided to make a difference for his or her neighbors. The donor gave each household, 549 of them in all, $150 in gift cards for groceries and restaurant meals. The total tab, over $82,000. Number 5, the top 10 car, you're going to like this, the top 10 car insurance companies in the U.S. who together own 72% of the market have all announced they will return more than $7.5 billion to customers. Why? People are driving less, and there are fewer accidents, so the insurers have fewer claims, and they're giving a chunk of that savings back to policyholders. So, will it also happen in Guam? Stay tuned. Number 6, the volume of trash has greatly increased because most people are home and making more to collect. Trash companies are reporting they're pushing hard to keep up. Number 7, Apple and Google, 2 companies that are major competitors, are now working together on a platform to enable contact tracing. People who test positive can load their test result into the app on their phone, which then notifies other app users that they may have been exposed to the virus and they can be tested. Number 8, John Griffin, age 53, lives in southern England. He came up with an interesting way to exercise and raise some money for his local food bank. There are 30 steps in his 3-story house, and in 4 days, he made 1,363 trips up those stairs. 40,846 steps in all. He climbed the equivalent of Mount Everest. As of yesterday, Griffin's effort had raised $2,135 from crowdfunding. Number 9, Mr. Gibson. Cannabis users aren't going to like it, but smoking weed is said to increase the risk of serious complications if the user comes down with the coronavirus. Dr. Albert Rizzo, Chief Medical Officer for the American Lung Association, says marijuana causes inflammation, and that can add to COVID-19 problems. 10, in the Czech Republic, sunbathing in your birthday suit, and nothing but your birthday suit, is legal. However, community leaders are concerned with the spread of infection. Thus, police officers have been called out to enforce the requirement that nudists wear masks. That's the extra point. Stay home and make something good happen today. Wear a mask for 90, and if you need one.
Where do you
for
wear
93.3 in the Ray Gibson Show, Guam Insurance Services, and First Hawaiian Bank. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
We used to be a family-friendly show, apparently.
Well, there's nobody complaining on the Facebook. No, I'm waiting for somebody to say, "Oh my God, did she say something about the rear?" What is that?
The rear door.
Yeah, there's everybody look at which is what we were talking about. That was the story. Was
there are 2 rear doors back?
Jimmy Moylan reminding the senators that they have to use the back entrance. At the legislature today. It was all spelled out in the legislative rules that went out last week for the session that they had. So those of you that, and like I said, that's the dog whistle for those of you that want to get FaceTime with these guys, because it doesn't look like there's going to be a public hearing on any of the measures that they're talking about over at the legislature. No public hearing. They're going to have session. But there hasn't been a public hearing that I'm aware of on many of the important bills that are coming out that have to be discussed, up to and including 334 and 335. One of them provides penalties up to and including $5,000, and a good point needs to be made. If we're going to do this, maybe there needs to be a little bit more notice. Because what was it Friday when they came out and said that there was going to be the checkpoints on Saturday? It was Friday at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The checkpoints went into place. Should have started getting worked at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. Yeah. And I'm going, in less than 24 hours, they're doing this. This is a major disruption of the way things are for the people of Guam. And they think that they can do it in 24 hours, in less than 24 hours, and everybody would get the word, which I think was one of the big problems associated with the traffic jams and the checkpoints that we had on Saturday, was nobody knew about it.
I agree with that, yeah.
Nobody knew about it, and all of a sudden there's guys out there, and it's an hour and a half to get through. And for what? To tell the guy that you were going to get your medicine?
You know what's terrible? If you look at the post over the weekend, they had a picture of the checkpoint, and there was a fire rescue vehicle that was stuck in that traffic line.
Right.
I mean, aren't they granted some bypass?
Well, is there a middle lane or something like that? Or,
apparently they had to wait through it too, because it was in the picture.
So what's the purpose of this thing? The purpose is a matter of inconvenience. So hopefully you'll stay home and not want to brave those lines anymore, I would presume.
Doesn't sound like a rational approach, if you ask me.
Otherwise, why is there one lane? When I first saw this, I posted, and I think I'm not sure we mentioned on the radio, but we posted the fact that, let's get 2 lanes or 3 lanes out there. You have enough National Guard guys, there's no question about it, that if you have 3 lanes, if it's only to really check something, it's not for DWI. Come on, that's ridiculous. That's not the reason for this. This is for the virus. So if you want to do that, set up more than 1 lane. If you don't set up more than 1 lane, then the reason is obvious. You're trying to discourage people from being in that 1 lane, and they'll stay home instead. I'm not sure it's going to be effective as a result of that.
Well, then they got to stop telling people they can go pick up their to-go orders.
Yeah.
Because that is keeping people on the road. They're going to grocery shop, they're going to pick up their food to go, and they're going to exercise.
And people have needs.
But there's, it's a crazy thing. And there's still people calling for a full-blown shutdown, a full lockdown of the island. I'm going,
but
there's
you can't
no
have
way
it in between.
You can't do a lockdown. The time for that has passed. The idea that number one, that people have got money to buy, 2 weeks, 3 weeks worth of food. Yeah. They don't. People aren't working anymore. Okay. The jobs have been cut. The hours have been cut. The salaries have been cut. Number two, how long does it take the average Joe to get into Payless and do all of their shopping? All of these places where they've got the staggered lines to get in. The time motion doesn't support everybody going pell-mell out to get canned foods and water and toilet paper for 3 weeks a month. So the idea that there could be some kind of a lockdown, that time has come and gone. 7:37 in the morning. Jerry Roberts and the Extra Point in the studio this morning, again brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services and the guys over at First Hawaiian Bank. We've got headlines with Montesilva Tyron. Are we going to that right now? All right, groovy. Always have to check because this seems to have changed bits and pieces of the program around. Being brought to you by Lolita Cammett of Remax Diamond Realty for all of your real estate needs. Call her at 688-6743. That's 688-6743. 730 News also brought to you by GPSI Guam. Their number 477-3058. Find out how GPSI Guam can assist you. Now with news from the Guam Daily Post, Montesilva Tyron.
Session resumes this morning with a slew of bills on the agenda. 2 bills drawing particular attention as they seek to give the governor additional powers to enforce her executive orders in this pandemic response. Bills 334 and 335 will allow for fines and jail time for violators. The bills also allow for curfew and checkpoints along Guam's roadways. Well, the administration has already imposed some checkpoints with daily roadblocks set up on Marine Drive in 3 spots and on Route 8 in Barragata. Those will continue daily from 10A to 10P. National Guardsmen and Guam police will man those roadblocks and will stop each car going through. And a 79-year-old woman died this weekend with coronavirus. She has become the 5th person to die on Guam. And as a result of the disease, health officials are reminding people to stay indoors and practice social distancing. Health officials say that the woman did have pre-existing health conditions. The JIC says there are 133 confirmed cases. And 447 Theodore Roosevelt sailors have tested positive so far. 2 sailors have been hospitalized. 1 person, they say, has been moved to the intensive care unit at the Naval Hospital. And those are your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your traffic.
No, we'll get around to traffic in a second. You heard the paper shuffling in the background, and I'm going through about 45 pages of ruling from the United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit, and they've come out with a ruling. At least the Court of Appeals has come out with a ruling that some believe could have a very, very positive impact on Guam. In Puerto Rico, there was a guy who was living in I want to say Connecticut or someplace, and he was getting SSI. And he moved to Puerto Rico and was taking SSI for a while. And then the guys over at Social Security said, hey, that's not available in Puerto Rico. So number one, you have to stop. And number two, you got to pay us back $30,000. And he took this thing to court, and it is now passed out of the U.S. Court of Appeals. And the Court of Appeals basically says that SSI has gotten it wrong. But in reviewing the law that is appropriate to this case, says that territories should not, in this case, be treated differently than the states, and there are far-reaching ramifications to this that might call into question taxation without representation, something that we've been talking about for years. That we pay substantial taxes and participate in the federal government of the United States of America, but we don't have a voting delegate in Congress. We've got that. No SSI here on Guam. Maybe we can get SSI, and then other long-living looks. And one wondering whether or not this is going to have an impact on the insular cases from once upon a time. Separate but equal. Remember all of that? Am I going to get a chance to talk with a lawyer on this? There's a very good chance that I might here in the next hour or so. 20 away from 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that's news and weather, and we'll get around to doing traffic here in a second. iConnect time is 7:41.
Becoming a homeowner can be a scary process, but it doesn't have to be, especially if you have the right guidance. Break through your fears and go to a real estate professional that will ensure a higher chance of success. That person is Lolita Cammett of RE/MAX Diamond Realty. Lolita also specializes in commercial leasing, land sales, local residential sales leasing, and military and corporate relocation. Don't be afraid. Call Lolita Cammett from RE/MAX Diamond Realty at 688-6743. That's 688-6743.
What happened? Where am I going? 7:41 in the morning. The Ray Gibson Show brought to you by the guys over at Wendy's. It's breakfast time over at Wendy's. Can I just riff for a second on the delightful crunch that you get on the fried chicken that they've got there on that incredible chicken platter. So you've got that. They do it up exactly right. It's breaded exactly right, and then they put it on a bed of scrambled eggs, which is so good. You get that and some white gravy on the top of it. And I don't know if you've ever had one of these things before, but I guarantee you try it today. Try it today, and you'll go back to Wendy's again this week for it, because you're going to go, man, that was good. How is it possible? This thing's been around Guam for the last 10 years, and I've never tried it. Well, try it today. Oh, and if you're thinking, well, I'm looking for a little bit more fried ricey flavor. All right, they've got a fried rice there that has got applewood smoked bacon in it. It is, and I've eaten the fried rice all by itself. It is good all by itself, but you add the bacon on it. Oh, yeah, that's yum. Try that today over at Wendy's, would you? Portions of the program also being brought to you by Security Title, and they make a pretty mean country fried chicken over at Security Title as well, while they're doing that title research to make sure that there's no blemishes, that there's no karma on the property that you want to buy.
Everyone has a busy schedule these days, and sometimes we forget to schedule our routine dental checkup and cleaning. Don't neglect your dental health. Schedule one today with Dr. Robert Yang and his Smile Team, conveniently located at the East West Business Center on Marine Drive, Upper Tumon. Call us today at 647-8702 or 3. Again, that's 647-8702 or 647-8703. We make smiles happen.
Let's see now, 7:43 in the morning, 888-825-5888. TALK is the telephone number around here. I think I got the traffic gizmo working right this morning. I got a lot of green, and green means the traffic is moving smoothly on most of the island, except, in some of the places where they're pondering checkpoints. But I tell you right now, at the intersection of 16 and 27, that's the roadway from Ocean Vista 76, making your way towards Machechi. That road, a little bit busy this morning. Might see some traffic at the intersection over by, this is 1 and 3 in all directions, coming off of Route 3, getting onto Route 3, on and off Marine Corps Drive. Might also see some traffic, a little bit busy. It looks like we've got some traffic at the ITC building intersection, and a little bit of traffic looks like it's making its way into St. Anthony and the Payless area. What is that? Am I seeing some traffic by the Guam Memorial Hospital? Do we have checkpoints at the leading up there? Because it looks like both ends of GMH coming up from Jonestown and then going into Parisville look a little bit busy in both directions. Hope everything is all right. If you know what's going on down there, then just let me know about it. 888-8255. Let Joe, he'll pass it along. Or if you got pictures, hit me up with the WhatsApp. That's 988-5874. Marine Corps Drive, let me see, that's looking all right until you get to and Route 8. Route 8 is looking kind of interesting, except over at the McMobile intersection. Traffic in both directions moving a little bit slower than normal through there right now. A little bit slow for traffic on in Agana Heights over by Navy Hospital, and then you make your way all the way down into Sumai, and you're just going to hate it trying to get into Big Navy this morning. It looks like it's running slow. No checkpoints. Oh, there is a checkpoint there, right? That's what that is. The guardhouse is an actual checkpoint, correct? Can we call it that? Yeah. Okay, fine. It's 7:45. That's right now traffic here in the Point.
What's for breakfast at KFC under $3.95, you ask? What's for breakfast at KFC that's different than the other guys, you ask? KFC's chicken wrap, sausage wrap, the Colonel's chicken congee, chicken fried steak, sausage biscuit and gravy, and biscuit sandwiches made with KFC's original fluffy biscuits. All for under $3.95 and all only at KFC. Plus, with waffles and the Colonel's chicken fried rice, we've got something for everyone.
So visit KFC for breakfast today. It's finger licking good.
Oh, good Lord, Dave. I don't want to hear about that. Somebody running 26.2 miles in an Ironman on a treadmill. On a treadmill. That's torture. I'll read up on that story. Also got a couple of pictures from my buddy Tom. Tom's the guy that gave me that MRE, and apparently he's got more MREs than anybody else because he's willing to share with me now what he says. This is going to be my lunch while I'm demonstrating over at the legislature today. Pork ribs, boneless, imitation, and then there's potato cheddar soup. So keep an eye on the door because he says he's going to drop this off before checkpoint time. 7:46 in the morning. 888-825-888-TALK. A bunch of people on Facebook Live that I haven't had a chance to say good morning to and welcome back from the 3-day weekend that we had here. Some of you had 3 days. And I hope everybody had an enjoyable Easter Sunday. I know it was different. It was different. I get a telephone call from my big sister Shelly late last night. Well, it was late on my clock, but late, and she was talking about how we got to get together when this is all. When the dust settles, and get together. We really did miss an opportunity as a family to hang out on Easter Sunday. You know, I'd asked Mana what her plans were, and she's like, "Well, we're quarantining. You know, there's you want to see the grandkids and stuff, but can't do it because we got the coronavirus. So we'll sort all of that stuff out. And a note here: Pirates Cove, they're still open and still slinging burgers. My buddy Evergreen South is there. James Howard. I'm not going to repeat what James Howard just wrote. We know you're blushing, Mana, says Pam Duvall. And there's a couple of people that did type in, Mana, which is the way she says, Raymond, when I've crossed a line or two. Well, that's all right. Nick says, I can have a field day with that remark about the rear. I know you can. I know you can. Maybe we'll rename the program today. Andy Camacho says this used to be a family show. It's still a family show. It's the Manson family. Just change out the deal. Who else is playing around? Renee Lau is there. Andy Camacho, new executive order. All protesters must stand downwind of the legislature building, no close than 3,000 feet. I got Charlie Laurent's there. Patty Cruz. Who else is there? Richard Wittenbach Santos. Is protesting essential? Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out. You know, I don't know. It seems to me that they would have to allow it for a couple of reasons. Number one, Jim Moylan was out there last week, and he was holding his placards asking for the legislature to get into some kind of session. Even J.I. Cruz got out there in his skinny pants. Which is the only thing that people remember. Do you remember what his sign said?
They were so tight.
Do you remember what he was talking about in the sign? What he was asking for from the legislature?
All I saw were skinny jeans.
All any of us saw was skinny jeans. You know, if you got it, flaunt it. That's all I'm going to say. Who else is there? Is protesting essential? Ismael says, Berkshire Hathaway owns Geico, so Warren Buffett can save you a lot of money in 15 minutes. Nick Pulaski talking about insurance companies. Doing some rebates. He says USAA is doing that. I won't hold my breath on any insurance company on Guam taking that up. Gabrielle Williams is online, and so is Richard Wittenbach Santos talking about nudists wearing face masks. Can't get that image out of my mind, like elephants wearing tutus. There's you know what? What's the delicate way to approach this? My brother has got pictures, and that's all I'm going to say. Shauna, this is Tattoo Shauna's online this morning. Yuka Echanova from over at the hospitals online. I see Ted Lewis saying, good morning, Guam. Stay safe, my friends. Bill Zacco Jr., Rick Tenorio, quoting Governor, you see, during the day, there's still a lot of traffic going on. There is measures going to re-educate people, remind them again about the seriousness of this virus, and to be really very responsible. Go home if you don't need to be out there on the road. As somebody asked me on Facebook, what do I say to them when they ask me where I'm going? I said, you don't have to say anything. And they said, how come? I said, because this is America. There's nobody's supposed to ask you for your papers. Nobody's supposed to say, wonder out loud where you're going. You don't have to say anything. Are you here on essential business? Well, yes, I am. What's the nature of it? Whatever it is, it's essential. Thank you very much. Let me pass. Unless there is a good reason why you cannot, then let me pass. Ed Ariola's online. I see Glenn Busby and Brad Hewitt and plenty others that are playing around here this morning. 10 away from 8 o'clock in the morning, and there's a story, I want to say it's in today's Guam Daily Post, about a get-together that they are going to be having. I see Mary Rhodes' name is in the thing. Starting on Monday, the Guam Visitors Bureau, the Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association, and Guam Chamber of Commerce will be reaching out to their collective membership to assist businesses affected by COVID-19, according to the Joint Information Center. I've got Mary Rhodes on the line right now, so she can tell me all about what this this outreach effort is going to be, and where do I line up? Good morning, Mary.
Hi, good morning.
Nice to hear from you. Hope you had a great Easter weekend.
Oh, been working every day. You know, we've been detailed with the USS Roosevelt, so with all of the hotels. So we are actually near the end of how many people we actually have quarantined. So it's been a very good process together with the Department of Defense, military.
Yeah.
And I think that all of the hotels who are participating are getting the support they need to make sure that all of the military who are involved in providing these services in each of the hotels are also getting what they need. So it's been a really good cooperative effort.
You know, I know that they're staying at a bunch of different places in Tumon. I want to say that I passed by, was it the Reef Outrigger, and over at the Deucet, certainly, that has got some people that are kind of leaning over the railing on the outdoors. I thought that was kind of interesting. How many sailors from the Teddy Roosevelt are now dispatched to different hotel facilities on Guam?
Well, the Guam Reef has a different group. That is the Air Force section for some of the special ops. They're not part of the USS Roosevelt, and they actually have been there for over 2 years now, and so they're on a rotation. So they have a different travel restriction and restriction of movement. But with regards to the USS Roosevelt, in working with the U.S. Navy, we have met pretty much our estimated goal of over 3,200 sailors that needed to be in quarantine facilities while they address the issues that for decontamination of the vessel. So we're over 3,200, about 3,300 total. And then there's those that are remaining in other locations. Once they finish their quarantine period, we're going to be working on lodging them as well so that they can address those facilities and get those back in order. So things are running on schedule, and it is based on those who test negative. Anytime anyone who has concerns or if they are testing positive, they stay on base. So everything regarding the protocols that were set forth are still intact.
Who's getting the bill?
Actually, I have facilitated that directly on behalf of the 9 different hotels who are participating, as well as the laundry vendors. So Department of Defense is paying that directly through DOD funding. Okay. It has nothing to do with the non-appropriated funds on the lodging services. This is directly funded, and my contact is with the Naval Supply Office for the Fleet Lodging Center out of Hawaii. Okay. So this is federally funded, and we won't be requiring the sailors to be paying out of pocket and getting their reimbursement based on their per diem. Yeah, so this is all being negotiated directly with them.
I was talking to somebody on Twitter, somebody in the States, wondering how things were going for the young men and women aboard the Teddy Roosevelt. I said, look, they're being treated pretty good here on Guam. There's a whole bunch of them staying in a 5-star hotel, and so their needs are being seen to and met. Speaking of the hotels, now I saw a piece of paperwork that went by last week from the governor. In fact, I'm surprised there isn't more talk about it, where the governor has asked you to take a look at the facilities that we have here on Guam and be on the lookout for possibly converting a hotel into a standby hospital. Is there any development on that letter? Have you made any agreements with any of the hoteliers here on Guam?
Well, the letter from the governor was, we actually had a meeting with her medical team to look at the presentation that Drs. Louis Cruz and Mike Cruz and Felix Cabrera presented. So we were part of that communication in working together with them to possibly find hotels who would be interested in the hotel to hospital alternative care facility. So we actually have 4 that have shown interest, and they're going through their site assessments with the Guam Army National Guard. I know that we are currently lodging some FEMA and Army Corps of Engineers also at another facility. So there's a lot of movement here with Department of Defense from all angles. And so I've been working diligently with the different parts of the government, both local and federal, to make sure all those lodging services are met, as well as the new concept for the alternative care facility. I know there's also a lot of concerns with even our medical staff at GMH and GRMC. And so I know that 2 of those facilities are also being looked at for housing medical staff as well.
Yeah, the ones that want to take advantage of it. Yeah, the ones that want to take advantage of it. I'm reading in the Daily Post that there's a number that have been offered and go, really, I'd rather just go home at the end of the day. 7:56. Now, getting back to what we originally talked about, there's going to be an outreach that is going to take place between you, GVB, and the Chamber of Commerce to help out businesses affected by the COVID-19. As I say, where do I pick up the packet?
Well, we're doing everything electronically. We want everybody to stay home, and we are doing an outreach. So we started this process, I don't know if you recall, like about 4 weeks ago. Lena from GHRA has been working together. We've been working together with DOL to share the rapid response team information.
Yeah.
But, it's very difficult to get through thousands of businesses with just one person. So we've combined efforts with GVB and Chamber. And so as of today, the outreach starts today, Monday, April 13th, and the information that we'll be sending out to the members will be collected. We're just assisting them in getting their information back to Department of Labor. So I can tell you, we started this process actually, and as you know, we've collected more than 3,000 information on jobs, but over 400 employers already responded just last week. So this outreach will continue starting today combined with the 3 different organizations, because we all have members based in our organization, and some of us overlap. But there's certainly some differences between Chamber, GVB, and GHRA. So
of course.
Hopefully we'll be able to meet the needs of all of the large and small business employers, especially the small businesses. I think that, the larger businesses have a lot of resources available to them. But that outreach starts today as a combined effort. And so we're hoping to really get majority of the members and the employer groups the assistance they need during this difficult time.
Check your email boxes, guys, and see what's in there. I understand. For all intents and purposes, it's nice to see all of these things going. And you and I have been having conversations. Daphne and I have been having conversations. Dave Del Sola and I have been having conversations. And I think the scary thing is, while we know that there's money out there, we know that there's an application process that for some people it's much easier than others. But the fact of the matter is we're still a long ways away from seeing some of those federal dollars start coming into the markets to preserve payroll and some jobs. So there's got to be it's going to have to, I think, for a lot of small businesses, start happening faster.
Correct. And so that's why we're doing this, because we know not everybody reads the news or listens to the talk shows, and so we need a one-to-one outreach, and GVB has a marketing team and a research team who they do outbound calls all the time. So it's a great use of those teams so that we can activate and be more, have that personal touch with businesses and help guide them. I think that's the one thing that private sector can do differently, is really in the guidance and the assistance in helping employers understand the differences between hired Guam with the dislocated adult workers, as well as the unemployment assistance or the SBA loan.
Yeah, there's so many options out there, and I think Mike St. Nicholas has done, I think, a pretty good job. Mary, and listen, I've got the music playing in the background. That means I've got to go. But it's always nice talking to you, and I'm glad that in this case, in this particular crisis scenario, especially as it works with the Hotel and Restaurant Association, the employees and management, I'm glad that we're dealing with you in this case. I'll talk to you pretty soon. Have a great Monday.
Thank you. You too.
Radio station is KUSG. Agutnia as the music is playing and leading me up to where Fox News Live is going to be. And what's going to be the top story in the news? Tiger King. Just honest. Right now, check.
A
Pandemic plus violent weather. I'm Jane Metzler, Fox News. Not much to celebrate this Easter Sunday in Louisiana. Not only is that state now reporting nearly 21,000 COVID-19 cases, 840 people have died from coronavirus. Now a severe storm system tearing through, toppling trees and damaging buildings in Monroe. The National Weather Service reporting tornadoes over northwest and north central Louisiana. Thousands losing power. The system moving north and east. Southwest Arkansas now a target. Large sections of Mississippi, Alabama, and western Georgia also in the crosshairs. More than 530,000 coronavirus cases and deaths, topping 20,000 in this country. And President Trump acknowledges this is not your usual Easter Sunday.
Right now, we're keeping separation. We're getting rid of the plague. It's a plague on our country like nobody's ever seen.
One of the president's close friends and campaign donors died yesterday of coronavirus. Real estate developer Don Chira. The president talked about his friend's battle during a recent White House briefing. The president would like to reopen the country at the beginning of next month. Infectious disease expert Dr. Tom Inglesby says that may be overly optimistic.
I think it'll be too soon to reopen the country on May 1st. I think there may be parts of the country that have such good numbers and can build up such public health capacity and get diagnostic testing ability in place. Some perhaps in May, but it seems like it may be May or June before the best places in the country, the most ready places in the country are likely to have all those things in place.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson out of the hospital. He was in ICU last week after his coronavirus symptoms worsened. America is listening to Fox News.
Let Chili's To Go do the cooking for you. Open to satisfy your cravings for delicious burgers, tacos, and ribs, or feed the whole family with all-in-one platter offerings. We're all in this together. Receive a 20% discount on all regular to-go orders. Call 648-7377 to place an order. Chili's will bring your food up to you curbside. Visit Chili's Guam on Facebook and Instagram for more info. Chili's, you can still savor the moment at home.
One of the easiest ways to prevent the spread of COVID-19 is to wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Let this message help you time it. Start soaping up now. If you're sick or caring for someone who is, wear a surgical mask or N95 respirator when you're around others. If you're not sick, wear a washable cloth face covering in case you're an asymptomatic carrier. Don't touch the front of the mask and always remove it from the back. When you cough or sneeze, use a tissue or your upper sleeve, not your hands. Choice Broadcasting reminds you to stay safe and stay clean. You can rinse now.
One country banning booze to curb the spread of coronavirus.
Officials in Bangkok banning alcohol sales until April 20th, saying drinking results in irresponsible socializing. The move, needless to say, spurring a wave of panic buying as hundreds of Thailand residents ran out trying to buy as much beer, wine, and liquor ahead of the ban, essentially defeating the purpose of social distancing. Thailand enacting the ban just days ahead of the country's New Year celebrations, which are often marked with heavy drinking and socializing.
Fox's Sue Guzman. A massive furlough by a major U.S. sporting goods chain.
Dick's Sporting Goods begins furloughing some 40,000 employees who work at its retail stores, distribution centers, and corporate headquarters as a result of uncertainty on when stores can reopen, given the coronavirus pandemic. Though the sporting goods giant says it'll continue providing benefits to furloughed employees. Dick's Sporting Goods previously announced other action to suspend share repurchases, cutting capital expenditures, and reducing salaries of company executives. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
He says he should be number one in the upcoming NFL draft.
Ohio State pass rusher Chase Young is feeling confident. Young told ESPN that he knows he's the best prospect going into the draft. The D.C. area native registered 46 tackles during his junior season, and now he's likely to be drafted by the Washington Redskins with the number 2 overall pick. Young says he just wants to go in there, being humble, being coachable, and just putting it all on the field. He admits that he was initially disappointed when the NFL announced this year's draft would be a virtual experience because of the coronavirus pandemic, but that won't keep him from taking part in style. Young says he's got a green suit picked out for the draft, the color of money.
That's Richard Jordan, and I'm Jane Metzler, and this is Fox News.
As we continue to protect our families and community from the effects of COVID-19, GTA would like to encourage you to use our online services or to call us. If you'd like to pay your bill or need assistance with services, you can chat with us online, connect with us on Facebook, call us at 644-4482, or send us an email at ask@gta.net. Here at GTA, we are committed to keep you and your family safe, healthy, and connected. GTA, we start with you.
The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts of Guam Training.
Hi, I'm Jerry Roberts, and every day on The Ray Gibson Show, I get to comment on the incredibly diverse, fun, challenging, sometimes frustrating, often exciting, but always interesting world of work. I hope you'll be there with us.
You can find daily transcripts of The Extra Point at guamtraining.com. Tune in every weekday morning at 7:20 for The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts, brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services and First Hawaiian Bank on 93.3 The Point.
Social distancing math. Tossie is infected with COVID-19. She still goes out because she and her friends think it doesn't affect them. Tossie infects 3 friends. Each one infects 3 more. In 30 days, 244 people are infected, including someone's Nana. Most recover, but Nana dies. Reduce your social contact. If you only infect 1 person, in 30 days, the virus spreads to only 4 people. Stay home, stop the spread, save lives.
Today, it's 8:06. I'm Ana Silva Tyron with a look at your local news from the Guam Daily Post. The legislature will resume session again this morning and with a number of bills on the agenda that seek to bring relief to Guamanians affected by the coronavirus. A couple of bills in particular drawing the ire of individuals who want to ensure their constitutional rights are not given away. Bill 334 would impose penalties, including jail, on anyone violating an executive order during a public health emergency, while Bill 3355 grants additional authority to the governor that she's been seeking to enforce a curfew and checkpoints that could result in citations for those who violate the executive orders. With those bills on the session agenda, a demonstration is being planned outside of the legislative building. Ray Gibson, who's the talk show host here this morning, invited people to join him in expressing their opinions as the senators vote on how much power the governor should have. Gibson says our rights are important and people should show up to make sure that the senators know how many of us refuse to be abused. Gibson's encouraging residents to wear masks and bring signs and practice social distancing to demonstrate against the dictator bills. For those who don't want to show up, you can reach out to your lawmakers and give your opinions on Bill 334. At the same time, a local organization is seeking senators' help in making sure the open government law is upheld, even during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Vigilance Committee, which seeks to promote government transparency, asked Speaker Tina Munya-Barnes and other senators to act with justice. They gave the Speaker draft legislation that essentially would allow public participation in government meetings, provided that the executive directors enforce social distancing during these meetings. The committee has been protesting the governor's order suspending some provisions of the open government law so that the government can decide and act quickly on COVID-19 response. The initial order suspended the requirements of notifying the public of government meetings and allowing the public to attend those meetings. A succeeding executive order eased some of those restrictions by allowing the public to attend government meetings by phone or by internet. Since March 25th, the Vigilance Committee has been asking the governor's office to release copies of public records citing specific sections of the Organic Act of Guam, laws and rules and regulations that grant the governor the authority to suspend the open government law in part or in whole. Well, Republican senators are reaching out to the White House and the U.S. Department of Interior to speed up the federal reimbursement for war claims. About $11 million in local funds were used to advance war claims payout to World War II survivors earlier this year, as Guam waited for the passage of a bill that provided the mechanism for the federal government to pay the claims. The president has since signed that bill into law, and federal officials are taking over payments to war survivors, but local officials are also waiting for the federal government to pay back that $11 million into the general fund. Minority senators want those reimbursed funds to go directly to pay tax refunds. The GOP senators have asked the Interior Department to urge the U.S. Department of Treasury to release the funds owed to the government of Guam so that additional tax refunds may be issued. Meanwhile, Guam's executive branch continues to pay tax refunds as directed by the court order As of last week, tax refund checks were being sent to people who filed returns by November of 2019. More news after this.
You know, these days even the Colonel stays at home. But when I get a hankering for some good old KFC fried chicken, red rice, and mashed potatoes, all I have to do is sing this ditty. Call 300-FAST to get your KFC delivery. Woohoo! One more time. Call 300-FAST to get your KFC delivery. Stay safe. Call 300-3278. KFC. It's finger licking good.
Over the weekend, health officials recorded the fifth death related to coronavirus. The 79-year-old woman was admitted to GMH on Friday and had pre-existing health conditions. 2 new confirmed cases were reported from testing conducted by the Department of Public Health. This on Saturday, this brings the total number of COVID-19 cases on Guam that have been confirmed to 133. Well, a sailor from the aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt has been moved to intensive care at Naval Hospital, and another also admitted to the Naval Hospital. National news reports today indicate that there are now 550 sailors who have been tested positive, and that it has been reported that the majority of them are asymptomatic, with less than 200 with symptoms. According to Business Insider, there are now 550 sailors from the carrier that have tested positive, and the U.S. Navy says over 90% of the sailors from the aircraft carrier have been tested, and 3,600 have been moved ashore. 3,200 are said to be in the local hotels, and the positive cases being quarantined on base. If you were out and about on this Easter weekend, you may have been caught in a traffic jam as the governor has activated the Guam National Guard and Guam Police to conduct roadblocks along some of the island's major roadways. The National Guard's checkpoints are set up from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, and they'll be set up along Route 1 by Lucky Supply in Dededo, Route 1 by the Shen's Furniture in East Agania, Route 1 by the Calvary Chapel in Assen, and along Route 8 by the Shell gas station. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your weather.
It's supposed to be until 10 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah.
Because I hear that there's they'll be there for a while and then they split.
I don't
Did
know.
they run out of
been out,
pamphlets
so
or something?
I don't know. I think they're scheduled to be there, but it might just be open to when they set up and when they.
Yeah.
No idea.
They go, it's too hot. It's gotta go home.
It is hot. Oh my goodness.
Stupid hot outside. Why do we have to do this? Everybody stay home so we don't have to sweat it out. Today, partly cloudy with isolated light showers. There's southeast winds, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Daytime highs today about 89 degrees through Tuesday night. Partly cloudy skies, more of those isolated and light showers. Light and variable winds, lows 75, and daytime highs should be about 89 degrees. Sunrise this morning was at 10 after 6. About the same time tomorrow. Sunset tonight. Tell the others. Hashtag tell the others. Start using that, would you? It's going to be at 6:33 in some of the great spots. But I tell you what, though, looking at some of the sunrises and pictures of sunrises that I've been getting lately, just intense, some of the colors that we're beginning to see early in the morning. And it's coming up a little bit earlier. Like I said, 10 after 6 o'clock in the morning is different than what it was just a month ago. But then everything is different than the way it was just a month ago, wasn't it? 8:13 in the morning, it's the Ray Gibson Show. Got more news and yak and all kinds of other stuff to talk about on the other side of these.
As we stand up to coronavirus by standing back with social distancing, Bank Pacific reminds you that you can come to the bank without going to the bank. Use many of our other delivery platforms like online banking at bankpacific.com, accessing cash at our ATMs, shopping with our debit cards. For businesses, we have secure cash and check drop windows, and we are employing a new smarter mobile app with remote deposit capture in the next few weeks. We're all in this together, and together we will win. Bank Pacific. Brothers but branches, we place roots. Member FDIC.
Hafidi, this is Kayla from APL Guam. Here at APL, our expertise and extensive network can help you grow your business and reach out to more markets. As a responsible carrier, APL is also committed to a sustainable future, whether it's protecting the environment or investing our efforts in giving back to the community. Our dedicated team in Guam and the U.S. mainland are here to support you. Call 588-4651 or visit apl.com.
Yep. Portions of the program here brought to you by the guys over at Take Care Care is a designated GovGuam urgent care center. FHP Health Center is there for your urgent medical needs. FHP opens Saturdays through Thursdays, so they're open right now, 8 until 6 o'clock at night, and then they close on Friday. So if you step on a nail, you cut yourself, or you burn yourself or something, I know it hurts. Don't go to GMH. Don't go to GRMC. Leave that for life-threatening emergencies. If you just screwed up and fell out of a mango tree or something like that, then go over to FHP, and they'll take care of you that way. Portions of the program also being brought to you by the guys over at Wendy's, making sure that you know how safe everything is. They want you to use the drive-thru. It's breakfast time, so they got these great breakfast platters, breakfast sandwich combos, bacon fried rice. Do I need to dress this up? Can you not imagine in your mouth right now the mouth feel of biting into a thick piece of crispy applewood smoked bacon? How did they make it like that? You ever do that? I made bacon and eggs and toast the other day. And I was trying to make it exactly like they do over at Wendy's, and I just couldn't do it. I was using thick bacon too. I found at the grocery store some thick bacon, and I thought I'll be able to do this, but it never. They got a thing right that makes it straight.
I think they do it in the oven.
I think they have an iron. There's an iron for bacon, right?
You can put it in the oven. Just put it on a
thing.
Cookie sheet and then spread it out.
8:16 in the morning. So ponder that, why don't you, while you're waiting in the drive-thru over at Wendy's.
Morning talk that matters. It's the Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Quarter after 8 o'clock in the morning, it's the Ray Gibson Show until it's not going to be anymore. 888-8255 is the telephone number. 888-TALK is the way that works. Also, you can hit me up on the WhatsApp, 988-5874. If you've got something that you'd like to, it is share-worthy, if you will. I had this picture up a little bit ago, and it's a picture of the Easter Bunny being accosted over by the church by the Guam Police Department. I don't know when this was taken. I want to say Saturday night or into Sunday as we got closer and closer to the deal here on Easter. And there was some guy walking around Tumon dressed as the Easter Bunny, and I don't know what the order was, but I've seen pictures of him, number one, standing around the intersection, number two, a picture with him and one of the yellow shirts that they've got down there, one of the visitor patrols, and then finally a picture with him and the Guam Police Department. And I wonder what eventually happened. Now, I did see, I don't know that it was related, but I did see a picture of a bunny rabbit in the police thing, but I don't think it was our police thing. I don't think it was our lineup that they put in. Yeah, mugshot. I don't think it was.
But he was also spotted on the beach. I saw a picture. I can't find it now, but he was on the beach, so it seemed like he was just kind of making his way around Tumon.
Just trying to spread some mirth and good cheer, eh? Is that what was? Is that what's going on? And this message here from some more of our friends as we make our way into Monday. The new greeting here. Good morning, inmates, because it sure has that feel, doesn't it, every once in a while? 888-8255, like I said, is the telephone number. You might want to use that in just a little bit. I'll go to the phones in a moment, but by way of setting up the next telephone call, you want to talk about your incredible gets. And it's nice to have friends. Let me just say this. It's nice to have friends. Juan Carlos Benitez the other day sends me a piece of email. And now you've got to understand that Juan is the most plugged-in guy there is on Guam. So when I say he's sending me something on the WhatsApp, it's one of maybe a dozen things that he'd sent. So, and I want you to know, Juan, I look and review everything that you send me. And I'm going, okay, this is CV-19. CV-19, this is, federal response to CV-19. It's FEMA money. It's interior money, whatever. Okay. And then he sent me something that I thought was, whoa, this is big. From the U.S. Court of Appeals in the First Circuit, it is the United States of America. They are the appellants. They are the plaintiffs in a case that was brought by a fellow named Jose Luis Vallejo Madero. And this is a very, very interesting case about a guy and lived in the States and got SSI, Social Security income, and was able to, take advantage of the SSI program. And so this is in my blind spot because we don't have SSI on Guam. So what I know about SSI, I've read in this documentation. Anyway, so the guy signs up for it, gets it, it's getting checks from the Social Security Administration. Then he moves to Puerto Rico and still getting checks. And eventually they said, wait. you are not living in the mainland anymore. You're living in Puerto Rico. There's no SSI here. So number one, we're going to stop sending you money. And number two, you need to pay us back $30,000. And the guy did exactly what anybody else would do. He lawyered up. He got himself some representation. And this case has been floating around for how long now?
I think almost a year. Herman can give you the exact time.
We'll get from Herman. So here's the interesting part. This is the big get here. He says, you want to talk to somebody associated with the case? I said, sure. And so he gets me the lead attorney. Nice one, Carlos. Nice. And that's why I keep a string on this guy. Let me see if I'm going to butcher the name. He keeps having me talk to guys with Hispanic last names that I can't pronounce properly. Herman Ferre. Is that, am I close, counselor?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, it's Herman Ferre.
Herman, first of all, thank you very much for taking time. I know it's Easter Sunday where you are on the mainland, so I appreciate you jumping in to talk about this conversation having to do with Puerto Rico. And there might be people scratching their head going, well, this is a Puerto Rico story, Gib. What does this have to do with Guam? Well, as I said, Guam doesn't have SSI either. And it is possible here in the unfair treatment that you have been able to show in the United States Court of Appeals that he has been treated unfairly and the territory of Puerto Rico has been treated unfairly. Likewise, this may have impact here on Guam. So I want to know a little bit more about this case. How long have you and Mr. Vallejo Madero been working together?
So we've been working together since 2017. That's when we first got involved at the District of Puerto Rico level. So we were actually appointed as pro bono counsel by the court.
Wow, lucky them. I'd like to be able to get that serious kind of pro bono. You've taken this thing all the way through, and I think the only thing that's left to see is whether the United States government is going to file an appeal, and there's only one more place where they can take this, and I believe that is the Supreme Court of the United States. Did this not start out as in criminal court? Did I read that right?
No, but it started in federal court as a civil case. Okay. But the two bases of there were two bases of jurisdiction that were asserted by the federal government, and one of them was, in fact, a statute that provided criminal penalties. So yes, there was a possibility of criminal penalties against our client.
All right. So once we got that taken care of and found the right court of jurisdiction, the right courts of appeal here, the case moves forward. And you've got somebody who is arguably a citizen of the United States of America who was receiving a benefit in a geographically blessed location, when moved to someplace else, all of a sudden could not avail of himself of that same benefit. Under which of our rights, under which of our inalienable rights, were you able to fight this case?
So we argued that it was, well, first let me just clarify a point, and that is, and you mentioned earlier that in fact this was the U.S. government commencing an action against our client. Yes. And so seeking the return of just over $28,000. So one of the, so we essentially argued that there was no liability, that he shouldn't have to pay back the $28,000. And one of the bases was because it was, he received it properly, and that there was therefore no liability for him to have to return it. And excluding him from the program was a violation of equal protection under the equal protection component of the due process clause of the Fifth Amendment.
Right. So well, we're having a lot of conversations these days about the Fifth Amendment, due process, and things like that in these interesting coronavirus cases. I'm sure that you guys in the front office over at your law firm are talking about all of the different versions of tort that might be brought against certain municipal governments for some of the actions that they've taken that I believe are in violation of the Fifth Amendment. But I'm just a guy on the radio. What do I know?
Okay, well, that's a whole nother area which goes far beyond this case, of course.
Yeah. Well, so we got the Fifth Amendment here that is at play, and obviously the United States government, not without their own resources, brought to bear in this case a couple of interesting arguments why they felt that Mr. Madero was not entitled and in fact should pay back this SSI money. So what was the basis of their defense?
Yes. So essentially, what the federal government argued was that there were already two cases dealing with similar issues in our case. One case is the Califano v. Torres case, in which it was actually dealt with the SSI program, so it seemed to be directly on point, at least as presented by the federal government.
Yeah.
And that case went directly from the District of Puerto Rico to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court provided a per curiam opinion, that is, an opinion without there being oral argument, and there was no briefing. But the issue that was raised in that case, and the Torres had started receiving SSI while he lived in Connecticut and then subsequently moved to Puerto Rico. And what he argued was that denying him the ability to continue receiving SSI in Puerto Rico was a violation of the right to travel. And so we distinguished that case because we said, hey, we're not arguing the right to travel. We're arguing a violation of due process.
And equal protection.
So that was the way. And in fact, the First Circuit agreed with us on that count. The second case is Harris versus Rosario. That's another Supreme Court per curiam decision. And so again, without oral argument and without briefing. And that case dealt with a block grant program that was being challenged that Puerto Rico should not be excluded from this program. And the court said no. Relying on the Califano case, said that in sort of a very short decision, basically said that no, Congress could treat Puerto Rico differently, Puerto Rico being a territory. So we argued that that case also was not relevant to our case because it dealt with a block grant program, and our case dealt with a program that is directed at individuals.
Right. It is interesting reading. I don't want to dry up the conversation too much with all the citations. And if you want a copy of it, I'd be more than happy to get it to you. The New York Times was able to encapsulate the U.S. Argument as this: the residents of Puerto Rico not only make substantial, that the residents of Puerto Rico could be treated differently because they don't pay taxes the same way as everybody else does. They also looked at the cost of supporting the SSI program in Puerto Rico, and they thought that might end up being excessive. But the first Court of Appeals dismantled both you and the first Court of Appeals both dismantled those arguments.
Yes. We said that basically a program in which the eligibility criteria says nothing about the individual having paid taxes in the past or not. Why then would Congress look to the history of tax payment only for those jurisdictions that are being excluded from the program?
And it's interesting. There's so much that you guys that they had written that the judges wrote into the footnotes that is so interesting. Is you could take somebody who's been paying into the system all of their lives, and then they move to Puerto Rico, and all of a sudden they're not eligible for something that they were eligible for in the States. Conversely, if you moved from Puerto Rico to, say, New York City, never having paid any of those taxes, never having paid into the system, you would receive the benefit, no questions asked. So it seems to contradict itself and disappears in a puff of logic, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And the court, of course, was troubled by that because that goes to show then that arguing that prior tax payment or the fact that Puerto Rico residents do not pay federal income tax. I mean, the court found that actually Puerto Rico residents pay into the federal treasury, just generally do not pay federal income tax.
In the billions.
They found that that using that argument about not paying federal income tax generally was not rational in light of the way the program is structured.
It's a beautiful piece, and I was kind of marveling with this with Juan Carlos the other day, because it is number one, it's unanimous, and I think the logic that the judges took as they affirmed the position, your position here, was stupendous. Now, there's a lot of this that is interesting. If you just read the footnotes, a lot of this is very interesting. Page 26, footnote 12. It should be noted that the U.S. citizens who reside in Puerto Rico, despite contributing to the national fisc, the Treasury, have no voting representation in the federal government. And I'm going, hey, Herman, same thing for us guys on Guam. So it becomes necessary for us to ask this same transitive question. If this is true for Puerto Rico, is it also true for Guam and other jurisdictions where SSI is prohibited?
I believe so. I think that you can take that decision, and the logic applies. Now, obviously, Guam is not within the First Circuit, so a decision in the First Circuit is only persuasive potentially, right, to a case that's brought in Guam, but and elsewhere in the Ninth Circuit, but it's not. It doesn't become necessarily applicable until that issue is then resolved within that circuit.
Somebody could take it to appeal in the Ninth Circuit now and use your case as a citation to prove our point.
Exactly. Unless, of course, the U.S. Supreme Court weighs in if the federal government decides to seek petitions for cert, and the Supreme Court decides to take the case.
Yeah.
And then weighs in, then of course that not trying to count the chickens before they hatch. But let's say they did agree with the reasoning of the First Circuit, then that would be then applicable everywhere.
Herman Ferrer is the voice on the phone, and he is the lead counsel in a case that was decided just a few days ago over at the First Court of Appeal that will, we believe, if the United States government, eventually falls on the sword and lays down on this, then it seems to me that SSI will be a component in the lives of the people of Puerto Rico. Now, there are programs locally that had been in place instead of SSI, but the amount of benefits going back to the individuals that are part of those programs it's pennies on the dollar. Juan Carlos Benitez in the studio.
Yeah, so I want to bring a couple of things into perspective. So Herman's absolutely right. The decision at this point is a First Circuit Court of Appeal decision, so it applies to the courts under the First Circuit, in which we're not. But the logic and the reasoning, the argument that Herman has been able to articulate in this case. And I also want to give a little bit of shout out to Judge Gustavo Helpi, who was a brave judge that wrote the first opinion of the district court, brought a unanimous consent of the First Circuit. It is unusual to get a unanimous consent of that First Circuit, and I'll be shocked if the federal government decides to appeal. I wish they do. I think they will absolutely lose. But the reason that we had never been able to legislate the inclusion of supplemental Social Security income program to the other 4 territories has always been the huge economic weight of Puerto Rico getting SSI. Now that, thanks to Herman, they're getting it, or they're going to get it, then you now have a clear path for a piece of legislation to be introduced in Congress in the United States now to get it included into the other 4 territories. That's one avenue to go. The other avenue is to try to find a similar case that would be brought through the court system here and would go through the federal district judge court here in Guam, and then that would follow it well to the Ninth Circuit. And if it's different, then it would create a conflict between the 2 circuits.
And that's when, then the Supreme Court loves that.
Love that, but I would be shocked again, with a 9-0 decision by the First Circuit,
Mm-hmm.
that the local district judges would not use the Herman's case as the basis
Interesting.
for the decision.
Do we know if representatives from Puerto Rico are now in the House beginning to put together language that would create an SSI program in Puerto Rico?
Yeah. Well, they don't need to do it for Puerto Rico. This program now applies to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
But there.
Although I will say though, there is Congresswoman Gonzalez has introduced legislation to include Puerto Rico, and actually I believe that it may have been an effort to also include the other territories as well. But I know that Congresswoman Jennifer Gonzalez has introduced prior to the decision in the First Circuit, had introduced legislation. I just don't know where it has gone.
Timely.
Yeah, it actually was jointly introduced by, I think, all of the congressmen for the territories, but led by the congresswoman from Puerto Rico, and it does include all the missing territories. Northern Mariana Islands already gets SSI. So
because of the compact agreement, the Commonwealth Agreement back in the 1970s. 8:35 in the morning. Let me, Herman, if you don't mind, I'd like to put you on hold. Let me continue with the formatics of the program. Juan Carlos Benitez in the studio. When we return, a little bit of what the conversation, it becomes a great what-if conversation when we take this ruling here from the Court of Appeals in the First District and apply it, say, to the Insular case, the Insular instructions that we in the territories have been living under for a long time. At any rate, Juan Carlos will be back, so will Herman in just a few moments, but we're going to take a quick break. Mona Silva's got our last look at headlines with news from the Guam Daily Post here in just seconds.
One of the easiest ways to prevent the spread of COVID-19 is to wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Let this message help you time it. Start soaping up now. The virus can survive in the air for 3 hours, on copper for 4 hours, on cardboard for 24 hours, and on plastic and stainless steel for 72 hours. Disinfect phones and common household surfaces like tables, doorknobs, light switches, countertops, toilets, faucets, and sinks, desks, including computer keyboards and kids' toys. Choice Broadcasting reminds you to stay safe and stay clean. You can rinse now.
Breath, you know what a scary experience it is. Whether you have asthma, emphysema, COPD, lung cancer, or another respiratory illness, the right medical treatment makes all the difference. GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic has the latest technology and respiratory equipment, staffed by world-class pulmonologists. Make an appointment today with GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic and start breathing easier. GRMC, where patients are partners.
Hey, you got some questions about this? By all means, Facebook Live, and I'll take a look at them while the headlines are playing, and get back to Juan Carlos and Herman Ferrer on this case, because I think it's interesting. And again, there's still a couple of wrinkles that are left to discover what this means in terms of the Insular cases. And number one, and number two, maybe a little bit of a discussion on a little bit of do I want to say the shifting sands, if you will, of the Constitution and the way the Constitution has been interpreted over the years. That's something that is addressed in a little bit of the write-up of the justices, and we'll talk about that. But right now, it's time at 8:38 for our last look at headline news now from the Guam Daily Post, read by Mona Silva Tyron.
Session resumes this morning, and with a slew of bills on the agenda, 2 bills in particular drawing attention as they seek to give the governor more authority to enforce her executive orders. Bill 334 and 335 seek to allow for fines and possibly jail time for violators. The bills also allow for curfews and checkpoints to be imposed. Meanwhile, the administration has already imposed some checkpoints with daily roadblocks set up along Marine Corps Drive in 3 spots and along Route 8 in Barragata. Those will continue every day from 10 to 10. The National Guard and Guam Police will man those roadblocks and will stop each car going through. And a 79-year-old woman died this weekend, becoming the island's 5th person to die from coronavirus. Health officials say that she had pre-existing health conditions. The JIC now counts 133 confirmed cases of coronavirus on Guam, 550 cases now reported from the USS Theodore Roosevelt. And those are your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, you can pick up a copy of the paper, log on to the website at postguam.com.
Hey, it's 8:39. That's iConnect time. Go to iConnectGuam.com with the World Wide Web if you've got questions about mobile internet, even push-to-talk plans. They're the only guys that do it at iConnect.
Hafade, this is Kayla from APL Guam. Here at APL, our expertise and extensive network can help you grow your business and reach out to more markets. As a responsible carrier, APL is also committed to a sustainable future, whether it's protecting the environment or investing our efforts in giving back to the community. Our dedicated team in Guam and the U.S. mainland are here to support you. Call 588-4651 or visit apl.com.
It's possible I might have to go through a roadblock, isn't it? 20 away from 9 o'clock in the morning. Hadn't thought about that one. Carlos reminding me that there may be some things going on the roadways that could certainly delay my arrival over at the legislature. But is it possible it will delay, likewise, members of the 35th Guam legislature? Are they going to get stuck in that same roadblock as me, or do they have special powers? Is session, quote, essential? Anyway, 20 away from the top of the hour. And as far as traffic is concerned, I don't see a whole lot by way of roadblocks at this particular time, but we'll see what happens at 10 o'clock when everything gets started. What else do we have here? A little bit of traffic. Route 15, southbound. That's the back road to Anderson. A little bit of traffic over by, where is this? That looks like it is going to be just before you get to the Onward golf course up in Manila. You might see a little bit of traffic there. 8, 10, and 16 looking all right now, but the intersection of 4 and 10 running a little bit busy. 10 and 15, the dumbest intersection on the island, is running busy as well. You might see a little bit of traffic getting into and out of the downtown Agutnia area, mostly around the construction spots, and I'm not sure why. Well, I guess I am. Maybe there's a little bit of traffic that's running through Route 6. That brings you up from Agutnia over to Petey, and I'm not sure why. It looks like there's a little bit of traffic going up and down in those directions. Getting into the downtown Sumai area where Big Navy is, you might see a little bit of pausing over at the gate, and that's just because. In 19 minutes, it's 9 o'clock. That's right now traffic on the point.
One of the easiest ways to prevent the spread of COVID-19 is to wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Let this message help you time it. Start soaping up now. Disinfecting high-touch surfaces daily is key to preventing the spread of viruses. Use solutions with at least 70% alcohol. Some disinfectant brands that have products that meet the EPA's criteria for use against the coronavirus include Clorox, Ecolab, Kimberly-Clark, Lysol, Purell, and SC Johnson. Choice Broadcasting reminds you to stay safe and stay clean. You can rinse now.
Interesting. I got a couple of messages here. Did you check your messenger? I'll check my messenger. I got a couple others that says, did you check your Tinder? I'll check that a little bit later on. 8:42 in the morning, 888-8255-888-TALK. And with me by telephone from New York on Easter Sunday, which I think is absolutely terrific. That speaks volumes, if you will, of the friendship between Herman Ferre and Juan Carlos Benitez. Good morning, Juan Carlos. Welcome back to the program, and via long distance. Welcome back, Herman. Good to have you on the line.
Thank you.
So, what other cases are you working on that are interesting, or was this the case that you built a career on?
No, I have to say this is definitely the most interesting case I have currently that's active.
Yeah.
But I again, this was a case that we took on pro bono to do something that would be helpful to a lot of people in Puerto Rico. So we also thought, I don't know whether you noted from the case, but the federal government was pretty heavy-handed in how they treated our client at the beginning of the case. Mm-hmm. Certainly in getting him to sign a stipulation without warning him that he should seek counsel. And so we had to, at the beginning of the case, try and get the federal government to agree to withdraw that stipulation. They wouldn't. And that, in fact, is what sort of set off the chain of events of moving to withdraw that stipulation and then answering the complaint. And well, here we are.
I don't know. It feels sometimes, and this is the perspective of somebody that's born and raised on a territory. It sometimes feels like there's two constitutions. There's one that works if you're in the United States mainland, and then there's a whole other one that applies here via Congress and via the Organic Act. And at some point, do you suppose maybe we can have a conversation about a better kind of inclusion in the federal family between Puerto Rico and Guam, USVI, et cetera, and all of the other territories and districts that we have in this country, that we should finally be not separate but equal and equal.
Absolutely, and I think essentially the territories are treated almost like afterthoughts. I mean, it's a little bit of the territories are a little bit of a relic of the past, and yet we've been frozen into this status, into a permanent status of colonies, which of course was not anticipated under the Constitution.
Well, and we'll argue until our grandchildren are old whether or not that's a status that we all like. And I'm of the opinion that most of us around here enjoy being citizens of the United States of America, enjoy the privileges afforded to us, enjoy the protections that the courts and those kinds of systems. We got a military around here, and we get to use American money and American stamps in the post office. So I think most people are pretty okay with this conversation and want to be treated for the time that until we make a decision, treated the same here as we would be in the United States mainland.
No, absolutely. So the only thing is that you're as a territory, then and I was a resident for many years of Puerto Rico, even though I enjoy full representation living in New York now, but when I lived in Puerto Rico, I had a resident commissioner who could not vote in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So that I understand the difference, and Guam has a similar setup where there's a resident commissioner from sitting in Congress and can't vote in Congress.
Yeah.
So but federal laws apply to Puerto Rico and to Guam, but those laws are not laws for which the governed in those territories participated. So there's certainly a tension between the aspirations that were enunciated when the U.S. was created and how the territories are treated. Congress essentially, if they remember that there are brothers and sisters in the territories, sometimes they in their grace decide that they're going to treat us the same, but other times they decide, these are citizens that live in the territories, and we can treat the territories differently.
Right,
and of course that brings us to the insular cases.
Yeah, the insular. Yeah, I was going to get there, but since you brought it up, so how do we make a connection between this case and a desire for parity that's not based on geography or whether somebody's paid enough into a federal tax system or any of that stuff? I mean, we are all flying the same flags essentially. How do we achieve that parity in light of the insular cases?
Right. Well, the one of the arguments that we had made, because we actually argued that a higher standard of scrutiny applied. In the alternative, we said, well, even if that doesn't apply, then under rational basis review, there's no rational basis for excluding residents of Puerto Rico from the program. And the court found that it didn't need to look at, analyze the case under a heightened standard of scrutiny. It could do it under rational basis. But in fact, when you look at the fact that residents of the territories are politically powerless, I think there is a good argument to make that those that are politically powerless should be any law that that negatively or discriminatorily affects residents of the territories should be looked at with a more searching inquiry.
Because we cannot always expect rational thinking from people during different times in our country's history, which is something that is alluded to in the case as it's been presented. Is that there are statutes, there are citations that I want to say that needed to be brought into the discussion, but it was tricky to do so because the Constitution or the impression, the interpretation of the Constitution seems to change from generation to generation, doesn't it? I mean, did I read that right in the case?
I think that one of the arguments that we made and that I think that the court was receptive to is that, yes, you have to look at the jurisprudence of equal protection. So you look at the sweep. We argued that the sweep of equal protection case law had changed since the two cases that the federal government was relying on. But that was an alternative argument. We also argued, as sort of the first argument, was that those cases were not even applicable because, as we spoke about earlier, they were just not the same as our case. So there was a way to entirely sidestep those cases, which are considered, the last, if you will, insular cases, or among the last of the insular cases, because they cite to the insular cases. And so in this case, we made the argument under equal protection, and the court was able to do an analysis. The First Circuit was able to do an analysis under equal protection principles, entirely sidestepping the insular cases.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the way to go. Is that the strategy as we try to dismantle 100+ years of disparity?
I think, that's definitely a step in the right direction. And, I guess we learned that each case, is, each case has its own sort of particular circumstances. And I guess each case sort of acts as that step towards what I hope will be fully qualified.
Well, I hope they all happen as quickly as this. If we're talking about something that you picked up in 2017, and we've got an answer from the appeals court, then hopefully we'll be able to take this apart and while I'm still alive. Herman, did you have a comment, Juan?
Yeah, I since we have Herman on the line, I want to take the opportunity to bring this into physical reality of individuals living in Puerto Rico, and hopefully what's going to end up being a reality change for the U.S. citizens and individuals that qualify under this program in Guam. Herman, can you mention, sir, the difference between the Social Security Disability Program and the Social Security SSI, and so that people can concretely see what's the impact to me? What would be the benefit if this program actually worked in Guam?
Okay, so let me just, there is a lot of confusion between Social Security disability benefits and supplemental security income based on disability. Disability is one of the bases under the SSI program.
Right.
So first, let me just mention briefly that the Social Security Disability Program is an insurance program. So it is based entirely on a benefit calculation depending on how much you've actually paid into Social Security. So it is purely based on your prior history of payment into Social Security.
So if you haven't paid a lot, you wouldn't get a lot.
Correct. If you haven't paid a lot, you wouldn't get a lot under that program. Now, the supplemental security income is completely divorced from any past history of payment. It's not an insurance program.
Right.
It is a program meant to help those most needy in the United States, either because of disability or, also to help the age. So anyone over 65 or anyone who is disabled who does not meet certain minimum income thresholds and does not meet certain asset thresholds they then could qualify under this program.
That's the long way of saying that they're means tested. So if you make too much money, you don't get it, and that's the way it is. But if you fall inside that category, then it could be a real lifeline for you, and therefore people, as you say, that need it. Herman, I appreciate your time again. It's Easter Sunday for you, and I hope we haven't pulled you away from your family too much. We hope that you and they are well in these coronavirus times, and that you are maintaining social distance and washing your hands a lot.
Absolutely, I am. Thank you.
And thank you again very much. Juan Carlos Benitez is going to stick around in the studio for a little bit longer as we talk about this and the conversation as it relates to the insular cases. I appreciate the strategy, and as I said, it feels like as we. With each little victory, although this one doesn't feel very little to me, I think it's going to be a big deal for people on Guam and people in Puerto Rico and the other territories that don't get SSI. I think it's important because it spells out the irrationality of the way that some of these decisions are made. And yeah, Congress, because we're instrumentalities of Congress, they can determine what rules apply and what rules don't apply, but they still ought to have to explain them.
Yeah, and as you read this opinion, and I really encourage everybody to do so.
It's only 45 pages.
But it's a riveting 45 pages. I think you're going to see a lot of members of Congress taking out of Herman's argument and some of those footnotes that you have brought up, and being the basis for the changes in legislation that we need, and not just for the SSI, but as a way of saying the time of the insular cases as the main doctrine of the United States has to end.
It's the time has come and gone, but the people around here, I think, have got to step into a position where they're asking for the same thing. I don't know that it's something that should always be done. Just leave it in the courts, wait till somebody's got some damages, and hold out for the best. I think there are people like yourself that are pushing towards an end to that insular case and its dominion over us.
Yeah.
At any rate, 8:55 in the morning. Then we've got our own other issues that we get to deal with now, kind of in real time with the coronavirus. I will leave here at 10, and notwithstanding any other work that accounting needs me to do today, I'm going to make my way over to the Congress building because I want to at least be seen by members of the legislature and their staff as being concerned about the direction that we are headed with regard to the requests for more powers for the governor. I think that the governor has plenty of power right now to be able to make and control things. I think an adult curfew, I think clamping down on transportation around here run contrary to my Fifth Amendment protections.
I completely agree, and I look forward to having the conversation with you on it. It's the Republican Party stands very strong, and we're opposing to the increasing any additional powers that are no longer that we don't feel are really needed. And
it's the rationale. I keep writing that down in my notes here as I was reading the paperwork, and I'm talking about this now. What is the rationale? By what means will a curfew on otherwise healthy, and we have not yet been found to be sick, we have not been found to be carriers, we're missing probable cause, we're missing due process here, just saying, okay, you can't travel anymore because you might. And that's not the way we run a country under this Constitution.
Well, and definitely another way we run America, right? And we are, and Guam's constitution is a very which we had a constitution. So Guam's constitution is the United States Constitution, and part of the idea and the point is there are fundamental constitutional rights that are protected even in the territories, and when you try to interfere with those rights, because of a national emergency, because of a health crisis, you're supposed to do that under the most limited effort to achieve your goal. And part of my concern is a number of governors across the United States, our governors not unique on this, have sort of enjoyed these new powers and are applying it on what I feel is not the least restrictive way to achieve the well-being of the community.
Yeah.
It also is required to be for a very limited and specific period of time. And what we're seeing here is sort of the decisions of, we want to get this power, and the limits on how I'm going to exercise powers are really not there.
Yeah, there's no sunsetting. There is no provision in these that I'm aware of that cites specifically when this crisis will end. How do we know when it's over, and how do we know when any of these emergent powers now that are granted to Adelup, when do those get handed back to the general government of Guam?
Yeah, and it reminds me of when I was in law school, we have this reading of Sir Thomas More, and he was a judge for a time, and he was advocating, and his cousin came to him and said, "Hey, you need to defend me and break the law. You need to go with the family." And he said, well, no, I'm going to defend the law even if the devil's on the other side of the law.
That's right.
And he said, no, you got to tear the laws around to kill the devil. And Sir Thomas More said, well, yeah, but when the devil comes and turns around and goes after you, where are you going to protect yourself if you've taken down all the laws?
Yes.
And that's our Constitution. We need to protect those trees. We need to protect our rights. And we should be very careful what authority we delegate.
We can protect ourselves from the coronavirus and protect the inalienable rights, as I like using that word, inalienable rights that we have got at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. We just got to make sure that the legislature sees it that way as well. 9 o'clock in the morning, the radio station is KUSG. I got you. This is The Point.
Easter Sunday of storms in the south. I'm Jane Metzler, Fox News. 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts toppling trees, damaging buildings in Monroe, Louisiana. Tornadoes reported in the northwest and north central part of that state. In Morgan County, Alabama, lightning damaged the roof and steeple of a church. The National Weather Service says much of the South remains under a threat of severe weather. Mississippi, Alabama, and western Georgia said to be at the highest risk, thousands without power. With more than 530,000 COVID-19 cases and coronavirus deaths topping 20,000 in this country, President Trump joining millions of Americans observing the Easter holiday from home, some facing fines if they don't.
In Greensville, Mississippi, police shut down drive-in church services and threatened to issue tickets to worshipers who refused to leave the King James Baptist Church's parking lot, despite staying in their cars at a safe social distance after the city's mayor banned in-person church services. In Louisville, Kentucky, drive-in services at the Fire Christian Church allowed to take place today after a federal judge ruled the mayor's ban on drive-in style gatherings was unconstitutional. However, that will not be the case in Kansas, where the state Supreme Court ruled in favor of the governor's order limiting religious gatherings to 10 people due to the coronavirus.
Fox's Garrett Tenney. Attorney General William Barr wants the Justice Department to investigate whether any of these laws violate the Constitution. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo had a somber Easter message for people in his state.
We lost hundreds of New Yorkers to this terrible disease. It's been disorienting. Everybody is suffering on a lot of levels. People are afraid.
America's listening to Fox News.
GRMC's Neuroscience and Neurology Department treats a wide spectrum of disorders associated with the nervous system, spine, and brain. Some of the more common disorders include seizures, epilepsy, dementia, sleep disorders, migraine, and stroke, which is one of the leading causes of death on Guam. GRMC's neuroscience team is equipped with the latest technology and the finest neurological doctors. To make an appointment, contact GRMC Specialty Clinics at 645-5500.
Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,600 by calling Family Finance in Agutya at 475-4545, Upper Tumon at 647-5626, or in Dededo 633-4473. Family Finance, serving the people of Guam since 1959.
Only on Fox Nation.
Who had coronavirus and might have antibodies that might help others fight the illness? Tests getting started around the country.
Los Angeles County Public Health Director Dr. Barbara Ferrer says they set up drive-through sites to test 1,000 participants who were invited to give their blood. Serology tests can see if people may have already had the virus and developed antibodies to it.
It's a random sample, so
What that does is allow us to get a really good distribution across the county of many different people.
Santa Clara County's doing something similar. Stanford's developed a serology test as well. The CDC says it's doing similar serological tests in other virus hotspots around the country. There are tests underway using serum made from survivors' antibodies to help treat those who are sickened with the virus. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Helping ailing small businesses as Congress considers another stimulus package. Some small business owners are struggling to apply for government loans to keep employees on their payrolls.
Business owners could wait another week or more for thousands of dollars designed to help them avoid layoffs and furloughs, part of a $350 billion program included in the coronavirus response package.
There's no information. There's nothing other than the waiting game.
Jamie Kay owns the Station Diner in Newton Center, Massachusetts, and says his first challenge was finding a lender. The Small Business Administration has increased the number of banks able to process loans. An official with the agency tells me it could still take as many as 10 days to finalize the loan documents with small business owners. Jared Halpern, Fox News.
If you make less than $99,000 a year, filed your taxes in 2018 or 19, and have direct deposit, the IRS says you may already have your stimulus money in your bank account. The agency started sending out payments yesterday. I'm Jane Metzler, and this is Fox News.
Everyone has a busy schedule these days, and sometimes we forget to schedule our routine dental checkup and cleaning. Don't neglect your dental health. Schedule one today with Dr. Robert Yang and his Smile Team, conveniently located at the East West Business Center on Marine Drive, Upper Tumon. Call us today at 647-8702 or 3. Again, that's 647-8702 or 647-8703. We make smiles happen.
One of the easiest ways to prevent the spread of COVID-19 is to wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Let this message help you time it. Start soaping up now. The coronavirus can't survive and multiply without a host, so don't give it that chance, especially if you're more susceptible to serious complications. Groups at higher risk include the elderly, those with impaired immune systems or asthma, or who are pregnant. Practice proper social distancing by staying 6 feet away from others. Choice Broadcasting reminds you to stay safe and stay clean. You can rinse now.
Cocoa Coffee Company is now available at Circle K. Single origin coffee beans carefully sourced and locally roasted to give you the freshest cup of coffee Guam has to offer. Grab a cup that's brewed every 30 minutes or purchase a bag of the locally roasted whole beans. Flavors now serving: light medium roasted Ethiopia and medium dark roasted Jamaican Blue Mountain. Exclusively available at Circle K. With every Cocoa Coffee Company purchase, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Cocoa Recovery Program.
Aha! Says here, Chili's to go. And my favorite part about this, 20% discount on all to-go orders. So here's what I want you to do. Visit chilisguam.com. Take a look at the menu. Take a look at the prices on the menu. And you're going to go, oh, that's already low. And they're going to do another 20% on top of that? Yes, that's absolutely right. Visit chilisguam.com and then make the telephone call, 648-7377. Place the order. And by the time you get there, I don't want to say through the checkpoints, but by the time you get there, take the back ways. Gas is cheap. Take the back ways. Gas is cheap. By the time you get there, there'll be a guy outside, and he'll have your food. And I don't know. They've figured out, and a lot of restaurants need to do this. They've figured out how to pack it properly so that it travels well. So that everything that is supposed to be moist stays moist. The things that are supposed to be dry and crunchy stay dry and crunchy. So check that out at Chili's today. Portions of the program also brought to you by Orkin, local pest control expertise with global coverage. They're on the web, orkin.com.
Bringing you closer to the action. Any speaker, anytime. Watch and listen live on thepoint.gu.
Got a note from Randy, very expressing frustration. I don't know that this climbs to the level of damages for which you might be able to lawyer up and take Adelup at all to court. But he was talking about the time that it takes to go shopping anymore. So he sends Mrs. To go onto the base to go and do some shopping over the weekend, which is stand in line for a couple hours outside.
Yep.
Right, and so that's done, and then she gets the food in the car. And then gets stuck in traffic.
Melted ice cream.
Melted everything.
Yeah.
Melted everything. So it looks like you got milkshakes there. Karina Gutierrez Ludwig is there. Bernadette Santos. Hava Big Berry Mead, who says going to GRMC from Santa Rita at 9. On return, we will not be going through any choke points. That's another way to talk about it. Choke points, checkpoints, whatever. Brad Hewitt, Doug and Nina Bowling are there. Evan Berg, Hafalisa San Augustine, Debbie Canata, Andre Bainham is online this morning. So is Roland Torres and Smug and Shauna Bentley. Frank Cruz, good morning to you, and Prudencio Meno. Nice to have Louis Cabral there. Louis asking a question, and I don't know the answer because I think we're only just now going to be talking seriously about the number of recoveries with the coronavirus. 133 confirmed cases. That doesn't mean that they're active cases. Of the 133 confirmed cases that we've got, there have been 5 deaths now, but 58 recoveries. Morning, Ray. Was wondering if you could ask the question to the medical community, what was done for those who have recovered? We only get how to prevent, how to deal with you if you are infected with the virus. Maybe you can get word on this in questions when you talk to some of the frontline people. I'll see what I can find out. I think it's a good question. When you're recovered, you're recovered, right? Are you in remission? Is it possible that it could come back? And there are people that are asking that question very, very seriously these days. I mean, how do we, and Jerry Roberts was talking about that this morning, how do we define recovered? The question that I want to answer, and I hope that the legislature takes this up. If I get some FaceTime with any of these people, that's what I'm going to ask, because I don't know that there is anything in the legislation that they will be referring to today. And in this public health emergency that we're in, how do we know when we're done? How will we know when it's time for me to do what I refer to as the condition for show, where I go on the radio and say, hey, you know that movie you wanted to watch? Let's go watch it because they're open again. Hey, you remember being able to go to any grocery store you wanted without having to worry about wearing a mask and gloves and all? Let's all go shopping at the same time. Let's all be on the road at the same time. Let's get the schools back open. Let's all of the things that we wound down, let's wind up again. How do we know when it's time to do that? Or do we leave that up to them? Do we leave that up to the same people that are wielding this power and want more of it now? There's 2 things I hate. Bullies and tin pot dictators, and I worry that some of the legislation that we're looking at serves their advantages, not necessarily ours. 9:11 in the morning. I've got the judge, His Honor Bob Klitsky, is on the line now, and I'm going to bring him in. There's a dozen different things that we can talk about now. I might have misrepresented one of my inalienable rights. He says the checkpoints violate my 4th Amendment rights, not my 5th Amendment. And here with my civics lesson is Bob Klitsky. Good morning, Senator, Judge, Your Honor.
Good morning, Ray.
How you doing there?
I'm doing fine.
Did you and Auntie Lulu have a good Easter?
Well, we did, but of course, a 3-day weekend, I start to Jones for Tall Tales about noon on Saturday, so I'm really anxious to get back into Tall Tales this afternoon.
Well, and I'm sure everybody is excited to have you back for Tall Tales this afternoon. I thought it was a fun conversation with Herman Fair, who was the lead guy in the Puerto Rico SSI case. And I would like to think in a world where we're looking at things rationally like that, that maybe we ought to be able to see the victory for SSI in Puerto Rico and their citizens work out here on Guam. You don't think that's in the cards right away, do you?
The rationale that the United States Congress used, or theoretically used, in not applying SSI to Puerto Rico had 3 parts. One was that that money flowing into Puerto Rico would have a disruptive effect on the economy. 2 was that it would cost the United States too much money. And 3 was that people in Puerto Rico didn't pay into the United States fisc. Well, as Juan Carlos Benitez pointed out, the costing the United States too much money is really off the table.
Yeah.
If the money has to be paid into Puerto Rico, because compared to Puerto Rico, the other 4 territories are really penny ante. But the one sticking point here is that people who live in Puerto Rico only pay mirror image taxes on their Puerto Rico source income. So the government of Puerto Rico gets mirror image taxes only on Puerto Rico source income. A person living in Puerto Rico with mainland source income or income from anywhere else does pay into the federal fisc. So that's quite a difference between Puerto Rico and Guam, where we don't pay a nickel into the federal fisc.
Ah.
So that could be the reason that the Ninth Circuit wouldn't go along with the First Circuit's rule, because that's a pretty distinct difference. The First Circuit, and it was Judge, hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Judge Schiralba from Puerto Rico, really wrote a nice opinion pointing out how, no matter how overcome the Supreme Court's rulings are by subsequent decisions, only the Supreme Court can overrule one of its presidents. So that's what we'd be up against here. It would be a heavy burden. Now, an interesting sidebar here, Ray, is that Rodney Jacob has a pending SSI suit.
I know him.
And
he's from here.
He is. He's with Champ Calvo's firm, and he has ideal plaintiffs. He has two plaintiffs, identical twin plaintiffs. One lives in the mainland, one lives here. One gets it, the other one doesn't. So you know what? One of the little things that lawyers look for is attractive plaintiffs, and what an interesting way to frame your case. And the one that lives here moved back here. So before she moved back, she was getting SSI. Now she moves back here, doesn't get it, but her identical twins living in one of the states does get it. So I suspect that Rodney will be on the Puerto Rico case like a duck on a June bug.
And I know Rodney pretty well. I might see if I'm scrounge up a telephone call with him and see what's going on. 9:15 in the morning. And, of course, you're welcome to join me. And I don't know who else is going to be there. I know that there are a bunch of people that are taking very seriously the stay-at-home orders and other people that might just be scared to be over at the Guam Congress because they're worried that somebody might see them and know that maybe they're on the other side of the applications of certain powers to additional powers to Adelup and the government of Guam that don't already exist. I've heard from some people that are like, yeah, I'd really like to join you, but man, retribution, karma, it's going to come back, bite me in the butt.
Well, the comfort word here, Ray, is what I think controls. That a lot of people would identify with your ideals, but just wouldn't want to bear the discomfort of someone looking at them and seeing that apparent disagreement. And, you know, a lot of people are very shy when it comes to their comfort. So, you know, in order to get people to violate that comfort zone takes a lot. I would call your attention to the demonstrations and picketing in front of the cathedral. That was pretty momentous when you consider the cause, who was doing it, and how old they were. So that was really something. But ordinarily, it's really hard to get people to do something that would make them uncomfortable. It's handy to say, well, you know, I was afraid of retribution, but I think the comfort reason is probably primary for most.
We need to go and look at Tina Rose and Peter Turlai and Amanda Shelton and Regine Lee and Kelly Marsh Titano and who else is in the gang of now 6? Because Jose is out, Joe S. and Augustin is out, Tilana Cruz Nelson. We need to be able to go to them and say we don't agree with your support of these two pieces of legislation that would provide for penalties for something that is heretofore right up until we got a bug around here was legal, and now by the governor's executive order is disapproved of, and now they want to disapproved of so much that they want to apply penalties up to and including jail time for somebody that violates a piece of the executive orders. Never mind the fact that a lot of times these executive orders come out and then bang, they're implementable right away. They are in effect almost immediately, and people don't have a lot of time to adjust to them or even learn about them. As an example, when did you find out there were going to be checkpoints?
Friday or Saturday, I can't remember which, yeah.
Well, Saturday was when they hit you with the checkpoints, but the word came out about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday that said that they were going to be instituting checkpoints at 10 o'clock on Saturday. So the entire island of Guam, 165,000 of us, I don't know how many people have got driver's license, or businesses that needed to conduct deliveries, or people that needed to go and it's the one time that they've got to get to base to go shopping, and they get to spend an hour and a half in a line trying to get south.
Well, you know, Ray, the U.S. Constitution, Fourth Amendment, said there shall be no unreasonable seizures. And according to John O'Connor in the Post, it took him an hour and 15 minutes to get through the East Agania checkpoint.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing we have to what the governor is doing are DWI checkpoints, and then the inland border checkpoints on the mainland. If you've ever driven from San Diego to L.A., you've driven through the Las Pulgas checkpoint. And there is Supreme Court constitutional law on those checkpoints, because when a cop stops you, or an official stops you, no matter how brief, that is a seizure. So the question is the seizure unreasonable? And the thinking has been that Juan Carlos hit part of it, that the seizure has to be the least restrictive means to accomplish state purpose in order to pass constitutional muster. Well, maybe prohibiting or forbidding or eliminating the spread of the virus is the reasonable state purpose, but making people wait in line for an hour and 15 minutes is not the least restrictable, not the least restriction available. So, in both the DWI checkpoints and the border patrol checkpoints, the seizure has to be brief. So making people wait in those long lines, and it doesn't make, you could be handing out toothbrushes to them. When they get to the front of the line, it's still a seizure, it still has to be brief. So, I'm surprised that the governor was going to fine people, and then later on finds out she doesn't have the ability to fine. So, using a football analogy, it's kind of like they don't have a playbook. Everything they do is an audible. They wait till they get to the line of scrimmage, and then they call the play. And then they later on find out, we can't do that. So there's that. And then there's dancing around by assuming that if you call it the right thing, it's okay. So we're not calling it a checkpoint. It's a traffic stop.
Right.
So on Tall Tales this afternoon, I'm going to rule that you could call it a hippopotamus, and it wouldn't make any difference. It's what it does, not what you call it, that counts. So this is a really egregious infringement on our Fourth Amendment rights to be free from unreasonable seizures.
How do we fight it?
Well, we could get a lawyer and do a trap and gale. We could go for a temporary restraining order and an injunction stopping these checkpoints, and it would be helpful if people would keep a log of how long it took them to get through the various checkpoints in case anyone wanted to come up with some evidence as to how unreasonable this is. So that would be one way. The other way, of course, is to figure out how to violate the law and then raise the constitutional aspects in a defense. But that would take so long that by the time we got a ruling, we would have been spending about 10% of our lives sitting in those silly lines.
Right. Well, the other part of it is all right, fine. I'm willing to go to a public place today with my cooler of beer and sit back on my lawn chair in front of the lawn over at the Guam Congress building and have a cold beer. Which is against, I think it's 2020-09, that particular executive order, in which case somebody, I'm sure, would come and make me stop, at which point now do I say, you've just violated my rights?
Well, you don't have a constitutional right to drink beer. It probably should.
Yes.
If you look back...
That's my pursuit of happiness, and it's a public place.
If you look back at the history of the constitutional convention, there was a lot of drinking going on at the time, and back in those days, people used to drink beer for breakfast, but they forgot to put that part in the Constitution.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's time for another constitutional convention. I suppose the point that I want to make is that if somebody is going to get busted for something like this, there's going to be an overzealous cop, maybe an overzealous guardsman that tells an overzealous cop that he's got to conduct some kind of arrest. I thought that was interesting that it wasn't just for it wasn't just the guardsmen that were there at the front of the checkpoints. They also had members of the police department that were there in case they were needed in order to, restore the peace.
Yeah. Ray, talking about a new Constitution, I'd like to touch on one more thing that arises from your chat with Juan Carlos and the Puerto Rico lawyer, and that is the insular cases. The insular cases are our boogeyman. We blame every bad thing on the insular cases, and I have distinguished that on Tall Tales on more than one occasion. That actually, if for some reason the Supreme Court overruled Downs versus Bidwell and Balzac versus Puerto Rico, we could kiss our mirror image taxes goodbye, and we could kiss our duty-free ports goodbye, because the Downs, the premier insular case, ruled that the uniformity clause of the United States Constitution didn't apply or doesn't apply in the territories. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So I think there's this idea that, if the insular cases were overruled, we would be voting for the president. We'd have senators. Not so. If the insular cases were overruled, it wouldn't change our political situation at all, but it would certainly change our economic situation.
For details, Bob Klitsky will be on. Tall Tales is at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Come hell or high water. You don't have to if you don't want to, but are you going to see if you can swing by, blast through one of the checkpoints, and get to the legislature later?
I'm going to give it a shot, Ray.
Okay.
I'm going to, if I can't do it, I'm going to see if we can't have a representative from our neck of the woods down there.
From up in Jigo?
Uh-huh.
I think Pam Duvall might be putting her lipstick on and getting her hair did.
She is part of the Tall Tales International Listening Audience Truth Posse, so it wouldn't surprise me.
The Truth Posse. Right on. Bob, it's always a pleasure, and I'm going to be looking forward to hearing you on the radio today. Going to be
Ray,
some fun chats. Always good talking to you. He was the first guy that because here I get in the email, I get there in the WhatsApp, I get this thing from Juan Carlos Benitez, and I can tell by looking just the top of it, because it all looks the same. This is a case. This come from a court. And so first thing I did, I didn't even bother reading it yet. Zoomed off a copy to Bob so that I could get his review on it, and then I started to read this. Now I want to. This is the degree to which the length to which I will go to make sure that I'm informed, so that I can have a conversation about certain issues. Is that okay, how do I want to say this appropriately? Well, there's no appropriate way to say it. I got this thing, and I should have been drinking beer. I should have been, because I got, what have you been doing to keep yourself occupied? Well, you work here, so you got hours in the morning, you got hours in the afternoon. So you've got, it's not like you can dedicate the entire, like you get off of here at 10 o'clock, right? So a little bit later on, like I said, I'm going to go to the Congress building, hang out there, and until we get some kind of resolution one way or the other. I just want to Ethan Bob everybody, and then at some point. Now I might go down to Pirates Cove and grab a bite, because it is vital. It is vital among all of the restaurants and businesses that we have here on Guam, that Pirates Cove survive COVID-19. If you are in the area, make a telephone call. It's on the web. It's on Facebook, and just order something. You don't have to. You don't even have to eat it there, because a lot of people will do that. They'll order, and because the extent of Jeff's authority only goes so far, and then it's public property. You can take that sandwich and eat it on the private property and not jeopardize his license. Or you can put it in the car, take it on, whatever. Do what you got to do. But the point is that all of these businesses on Guam need to be here on the other side of this COVID-19 thing. So I might do that. If I don't, maybe later on. Maybe I'll do it for later. But I'll go home and take a nap, wake up later on, have a sandwich and a cold beer, and then ponder what my boy chores are going to be. Now, my boy chores over the last several days has been, and again, it's one of those things. I should show you pictures because I'm really proud of it and I want to brag, and my mom would be happy, is the back and the side yards don't have grass on them. They've been growing weeds. All of these years. So I let the weeds grow tall and then went, because they're easier to pull when they're tall, and took it back down to dirt. And now I can go and buy some grass seed if I can. I don't know if it's deemed essential, whether the essential committee has decided that grass seed is okay, and put some more grass seed down there, and then instead of weeds, I'll grow grass. So that's what I've been doing, is everything that's not in the front yard, everything to the sides and the back, I've pulled that stuff out by hand. And so that's what keeps me busy.
How's your back?
My back, I'm good. Oh, okay. I'm good. I'm the last guy you need to worry about, right? But I'm going, I need to be outside doing my boy chores, and all of a sudden I got 45 pages worth of case law to read. And I read that case law instead of being outside and pulling weeds and drinking beer after that. That's how important I consider this job to be. Because if this wasn't coronavirus time, that would be the number one story. That would be top story in today's front cover of the Guam Daily Post, is that particular story there. Anyway, 9:30 in the morning. Where it's about that time where I go, hey, I wonder if did I put together a table of contents this morning? And the answer is, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. The Mary Rhodes we talked to, and Mary's going to be working with the Chamber and the Visitors Bureau, et cetera, to help give as many businesses as possible the way forward, instructions on how we're going to take advantage of federal programs that are out there to protect businesses, protect employers, protect employees from the ravages of the downturn in the economy brought on by, I think, histrionics on the coronavirus. Having said that, it's nice that there are all these programs out there, but I'll tell you from the perspective of a businessman here on Guam, for whom the clock ticks 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it ain't happening fast enough. It's not going fast enough. In the pipeline, just on Guam right now, between $30 and $60 million. Now, I love the way they say that. It's somewhere between $30 and $60 million, like it's a rounding error somewhere between them. It's somewhere between $30 and $60 million worth of applications have been put into to the PPP, the payroll protection loans. And so, yeah, they get all of these businesses, and there's going to be more. They just haven't figured it out. I got my buddy Dennis Larson. He and his wife running a small proprietor. They don't have any employees. It's just the two of them at their place, at their dog grooming and all of that, all of the things they do over there, Rainbow Bridge. And he's like, well, what do we do? And it's a good question. And a lot of people don't realize that there are many of these programs, even though they're pointed at, you'd go, well, it's payroll protection, right? So it'd have to be a business with employees. No, there's concerns about your payroll as well. So start looking around. Go to the Department of Labor's website and see what they've got. Or, as it turns out, these guys might have more value than just narking on your friends if they're having a party. Call 311. I want to say that there is a number that you would press if you go to 311 if you've got questions about which federal programs apply to you. Also want to say, is it in today's Guam Daily Post? I want to say page 2, 3 of the Daily Post is an ad from, okay, it's not today, because page 3 is an ad for KFC's seafood choices. I guess Lent's not over there yet. Must be one of the other Daily Post has got to add that Congressman, there it is, page 5 of yesterday's Daily Post, understanding the recovery rebate. And the recovery rebate, that's the $1,200, $2,400, and what did you say, Joe, $100 for the kids?
Yes, sir.
It's actually $5, but he's going to tell the kids it's only $100. Can't buy the PlayStation now.
Yep.
Oh, shucks darn. Anyway, so understanding the recovery, and it goes to the question, who is eligible? What about claim dependents? How many dependents can I claim? Yada, yada, yada. And then it gets to the last one. When can I expect payment? That. Okay. Those living in the 50 states and the District of Columbia will likely receive their economic impact payments sooner than those living in Guam and other territories. This is because Guam tax filers are not in the IRS system. The Guam Department of Revenue and Taxation will be working with the IRS to ensure that economic impact payments for eligible recipients in Guam will receive payments as soon as possible. Now didn't they say, what are they going to do? They're going to take reimbursement money, right? Do I have this right? From the World War II loyalty recognition and use that as seed money for the recovery rebate program. And then when Treasury, and then they'll get paid back when they get paid back. But the problem is we haven't gotten paid back the $11 million from Treasury yet for the World War II Loyalty Recognition Act, right?
Oh, yeah.
I might be mixing up different funds, but it seems to me that that's one of them. Is they want to get the payments out to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. So we're going to have to wait on getting this paid back, send that money out, and then hope we get paid back in decent time from the money that we're. It's a shell game, guys. It's a shell game. And just opposite that is another thing that I marked here. Page 4, yesterday's Guam Daily Post, with regard to benefits. Del Sola. And this is which program are we talking about here? There's, as I said, the PPP and a couple of others. Del Sola says he is teleconferencing with his federal counterparts on Tuesday and said he's hoping they get a final amount for the pandemic unemployment assistance program soon after, if not on that day. He said one of the requirements for the program is to submit a budget to the U.S. DOL, but he needs to know how much applicants will potentially be allowed to receive in order to know how much to ask for. Chicken, egg. Egg, chicken, which comes first? And so there's another one of these cases where we go, okay, I guess we're going to have to wait a couple things out. In the meantime, rent's coming due, out of groceries. I'm down to cup of soup. My God. All right, my family's listening, and they're going to freak out. Oh, my God, what do you mean he's down to cup of soup? I just gave him a case of Dinty Moore and chili with beans.
I saw your Easter spread. Cup of noodle.
Man, it was good, though, bro. It's good. Okay, this is the scofflaw that I am. You know, right there in the cover, it says, do not microwave. What on what planet do you think that I would take a container of water, stick it in the microwave, and then put it in the thing? Right? What planet do they think? No, it's you put the water in the thing and you stick it in the microwave oven. You come back 2 minutes later, wait another 2 minutes for it to cool, and then you can. You know what I like to do? The first wife taught me this. Shut up. You take a capful of vinegar and you put it in there.
Oh, why?
Because it adds some zing to it.
Oh, okay.
So a couple of, a full capful from the vinegar jar. And you put that in there and then a couple of squirts of Tabasco. And then it's so good. And then you don't care that you're eating something that only costs 90 cents. And this is it, man. This is my feast. So anyway, 9:36 in the morning, I'm going to take a real quick break and take a look at the Facebook Live, see if I got any answers to some of the questions that we've been asking all morning long. And, do we get a hold? No, we can't get a hold of Troy now. I think he's actually broadcasting now.
He is. He called earlier, but he started his live feed. So.
Okay. All right. So Cousin Troy's on, and he's going to be on. I think his live feed today is going to be the same as it was on Friday. He's going to be watching over at the legislature. So I think he's got some yak on that. At any rate, 9:37 in the morning, that's iConnect time. iConnectGuam.com on the World Wide Web. That's where you go for, what do you want? Oh, information, mobile, internet, push-to-talk plans. You can find out all of the answers to all your questions at iConnectGuam.com.
Day, this is Congressman Nicholas. The federal government is making $7 million in small business disaster loans available for small businesses impacted by the coronavirus. If you would like more information, please contact our office at 671-475-6453 or our local Small Business Administration office at 671-472-7419. You can also email our office at michael.sanicolas@mail.house.gov. God bless you and God bless Guam.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the Office of Congressman Michael F.Q. San Nicolas.
As we stand up to coronavirus by standing back with social distancing, Bank Pacific reminds you that you can come to the bank without going to the bank. Use many of our other delivery platforms like online banking at bankpacific.com, accessing cash at our ATMs, shopping with our debit cards. For businesses, we have secure cash and check drop windows, and we are employing a new smarter mobile app with remote deposit capture in the next few weeks. We're all in this together, and together we will win. Bank Pacific. Where others put branches, we place roots. Member FDIC.
Oh, that's nice. Edita Sardea saying, Happy Easter, Guam Ray, and Edita and Roger are watching. That's nice. One of my favorite couples. Got to be celebrating, 60 years you guys been together? Rico Blankenflor, why are responsible adults also punished for actions of dinglings? Stupid roadblocks. Somebody had equated this. I'd seen a thing on a couple of memes on the social media talking about, well, this is like, when you're in school. And, we're all being graded at the same time. And I'm going, you know what? I haven't been in school in a long time. I live my life the way I want to live my life. And you live your life the way you want to live your life. And as long as neither one of us are hurting anybody, then it ought to be okay. The idea that because the governor can have a tantrum about people that might be so-called gallivanting, and then putting more restrictions on me, non-gallivanter, is an annoyance. And I would hope that somebody figures out what legal buttons that we need to push around here to say stop it. It was another post, a conversation I was on Facebook, and the language that you'll hear, you get to hear this every once in a while. It's my favorite new way to describe this. It's exhausting. I had a long conversation with a buddy of mine on Saturday, and he was just talking about how exhausted he is. You wake up in the morning and you don't know, the governor's going to have a thing at 1 and you have no idea what the hell she's going to say. What, is there going to be a new set of rules here that we've got? Is there going to be a new restriction? Is there going to be some new code that we all have to follow? And you just get tired of it. You just get worn down, not knowing from one day to the next if what about tomorrow is going to be different about today. And somebody online just said, God, Ray, let's just go to the martial law and then be done with it. Just leave us alone for the next 30 days. That's the level of exasperation that I think people are at. Let's just, whatever the most extreme thing is, can we just do that? And then I don't have to worry about it. Then I won't have to worry about one day or the next. What's it going to be? And to those people that are out there, you know what? Go get some Red Bull. Go Oro no Mensi. Stay in the fight. And start fighting. Start fighting back. There was and it's interesting because there was as I'm talking about going to the legislature and protesting or demonstrating or however you want to say, I've got rights. I want to be able to tell them, remind people about my rights. And I'm getting all these guys. There was a post over the weekend about somebody going after the social media influencers and telling the social media influencers or copy this to the social media influencers so that they can keep in mind the safety of the community and the idea that people that are going out and gallivanting and flouting the laws or the executive orders. I mean they're just killing people. It's a death sentence for people. And my name ended up attached to that tag. And I said, untag me. I haven't drank the Kool-Aid yet. I'm not gonna drink the Kool-Aid. We can protect ourselves. But it doesn't have to come at the expense of our inalienable rights to travel unimpeded anytime, anywhere that we want to, which is what they're talking about taking away. We can do both of them. I'm trying to figure out how the hell we're going to survive Corona. How are we going to bring back the economy? And that's a conversation that we're going to need to start having. My godbrother Michael Israel would have been a part of the conversation today. I think I'm going to bring him into the studio tomorrow. You know why? Because neither one of us have got coronavirus. It's okay if we're in the same room. I'm sure that somebody's going to say, well, one or both of you has to wear a mask. To which my response is, you're not my mother. And so that's one of the conversations that we have to have is how we let this get so far and derail a global economy. And the economy around here wasn't all that great. I mean, it was flat from where it was last year for most of the year. Had a pretty decent January. February numbers were looking pretty good too. All of a sudden, everything went to hell in March because of the coronavirus. But I was walking down in Tumon the other day. On the beach, exercising.
You were alone.
I was within distance. I was within. I'm sure one of those yellow shirts was looking at me, going, "You better you make room for Jesus right now. You make room for Jesus." And it occurred to me as I'm walking by, what is this? $1.3 billion worth of hotel room inventory, and most of it empty. Most of it empty. The only people in there is going to be the military. And don't you know that they're probably negotiating for the best rate possible? This is going to be the cheapest rates over at the Deucet since around Valentine's.
Was it the military people that did that Hope thing, or was it the hotel that set
I think it
that
was the hotel.
Oh, okay.
I think it was the hotel. And I'm proud of my friends over at the Reef for doing that. I think that was wonderful. They were spectacular. They got so much room there and all these different hotel rooms that are empty. They were able to using the lights in the hotel rooms, make the word hope, Hope.
I liked your idea.
My idea is this. So today it can say hope. Tomorrow make it say BEER. Huh?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What other four-letter words can we use?
Oh, boy.
Let's do that. And I tell you what, if we can't, because I understand, this is PR, marketing, that kind of thing. If we can't, because they're going to want to leave hope up there, do me a favor. One of you that's listening to the broadcast right now has got mad Photoshop skills. I need you to do me a favor. I need the Reef Hotel. I need that rewritten so it doesn't say hope. I need it to say beer. Send me your artwork on the WhatsApp 988-5874. That's 988-5874. You may also, at your own discretion, and I might use them at my discretion, put some other four-letter words in there. Come on, it'll be fun. Be a rapscallion. What? Well, I'm having a good time riffing. There's people who want to talk to me? Get out of here. Wanted to ask where I can find a list of essential and non-essential items that the government has put out. There was, let me see if I can find it. I want to say that there was a JIC notice that went out last week that identified what were and what were not essential in terms of businesses. I don't think I've got it in front of me. So I don't know. There's 18 piles of paper. I don't have it in front of me, but take a look at in your emails or go to the Joint Information Center and see what they've got for essential, not essential. Like I said, I can tell you about services. I don't know about individual essential items. I can't tell. Other Governor Ken Leon Guerrero Reed joins me in the broadcast. Good morning, Ken. Do you have your Guy Fawkes mask on? Are you ready to go and demonstrate over at the legislature?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have a Guy Fawkes mask, but I've been here at the legislature since 7:45. I've been wrangling senators, and after the first few, they started going in the back door.
That's why I told you they were going to. Oh, there's a back door, right? Not just a back door, but a back door.
I was at the back door, and I got a hold of Pito Terlahi, and Speaker had talks with them, and then I saw Regine Bisco-Lee sit in her car for a while. Then she got out and made a mad dash to the back door before I could ask her any questions.
Yeah.
And so then I moved over to the back door, talked with a number of senators. I'm encouraged by the number of senators who now claim they're sitting on the fence or leaning towards no. as I watch the protesters across the street standing in the shade.
There's protesters?
And,
wait a minute. Hold on a second. I thought it was just going to be me and, like, this girl.
Well, there's a couple of them who've been walking around the legislature carrying signs.
Nice.
So
Oh, my
at
God.
some point in time, the senators have seen them as they walk by the windows.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, and there's still time for everybody that's listening to get on the YouTube when it comes online, because the senators are going to be watching the eyeball count. You know, that's going to be more powerful than if we pack the gallery, because the gallery only holds about 30 people. But if they look up there and they say, 1,500, 2,000 people on the watching live, that's going to have an influence on them as well. Or we can send them emails. They have all their emails are on a page on the legislature website. You can go there and copy their addresses and send them an email. Vote no on 334 and 335, because we know they're sitting there during session watching their emails and their social feeds. This is a way we can communicate with them directly while they're in session, even though we've been banned from the building.
Right. No, you're bringing up some really good points. I'm delighted that you're going to be there. I think the spirit and solidarity of some people. I get it. There's a lot of people that are scared. I hear from all of these people they're all freaked out about this, and think the only way to do that is to have the government institute for them some kind of massive. Everybody has to stay on lockdown because we're scared of the coronavirus. Most of us aren't going to get the coronavirus. In fact, there's a number of us that probably already had it and didn't even know. And at the end of the day, it's already out there. It's in the wild. We're going to have to herd immunity on this one, and there are sadly going to be people that die, and we will mourn them and pray that there will be some kind of vaccine. Maybe some kind of vaccine. You realize that, and it was another point that somebody had brought up in the conversation over the weekend, is you don't always get a vaccine just because you want one. This might be part of our new normal, and we're going to need to get to learn to live with it the same way that we all modified our behavior so that we could live with HIV.
Well, these topics were discussed extensively in a series of TED Talks in 2015, and I watched most of them. And now people are just discovering these TED Talks, going back to 2015, that we're worried about this, especially after the H1N1 outbreak we had. And they realized that, we as a nation, as a country, as a world, need to start getting ready for this, because the world has changed. Because now people don't take 30 days, 45 days to cross an ocean. They cross an ocean in 3 or 4 hours, so that's what's changed things. But more importantly, bringing back to the legislature session today and why we need to be sending these emails. On my way here, I drove past the War in the Pacific Park. There were about 30 or 40 people, and they were all running about 20 to 30 feet apart, running or walking 20 to 30 feet apart. And when they were passing when the joggers are passing the walkers, you see them pull out, to give birth to those that are walking. So our people are practicing social distancing. Our people are practicing staying at home for the most part, except for going out for peace of mind and exercise as allowed by the current order.
We don't need anything additional. There's nothing magical about a curfew that's going to chase the virus away. There's nothing magical about checkpoints that are going to make the virus go away. You're right. People are following the rules as they understand them. But you change the rules every day, nobody can get used to anything. So just leave it be until the 5th of May. And also, if the legislature is going to have conversations about this, we need to find out immediately how this is going to end. And I believe that the legislature needs to call in as many experts as possible, not necessarily the experts that the governor is talking to. There are other MDs, there are other specialists in this town that we need to have consultation with the legislature so that we know what the light at the end of the tunnel. What does it look like? How will we know when we're there? Is it a lowering in the number of hospitalizations? Is it a decrease in the rate of adoption of the coronavirus down to 0.5, 0.75? Is it recoveries? What denominator are we going to use eventually?
Well, you're making the very point why we should have had these public hearings. Because right now, when I talk with Amanda Shelton, she epitomizes the attitude, my mind is made up, don't bother, I'm not going to change it. So I got the attitude talking from her that no amount of information in the world is going to change her attitude on this bill because she put her name on it first. So that is the mindset we're dealing with. But if we'd had public hearings and we're able to get these types of people in to talk about what would be a way to address this, because you're right. I think it's been here too, because as you know, I think I had it back in December.
Yep.
And I know a lot of other people that were down with it. I was just talking with some people out here that think they had it in December and January. So we need to have practical government policy, not policy that can, be nice if we do this, and then later on down the line we can twist it and use it for other things.
Exactly.
And that's the way these bills are written.
Well, that's the politics, and that's one of the reasons why I bristle at the idea that the legislature even has to be called into session. I hate that because I think that they're just going to confuse things and help make things worse for the rest of the population. But because they have been called into session, they've got an opportunity to do things right, and I hope they take advantage of it. Dude, I got to let you run because it's 9:53.
Talk to you later.
I'll see you in just a little bit. Depending on how long it takes me to get out of the checkpoint. Right on. 888-8255. It's 9:53. Do we have last break? Okay, go ahead and push buttons.
Guam is home to strong and resolved people. As an island, we regularly deal with the destructive forces of nature together. We at Security Title know that when the storm passes, our families and neighbors will join together to clear the debris, to barbecue whatever is thawing in our freezers, and get back to the business of wholeheartedly living our lives. As our island struggles with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, let us remember that this too shall pass.
Let's see. One of the big stories that I'm ignoring today. Let me just take a look at some of the printouts from the other media. Guam contractor among a consortium awarded $98 million worth of a DOD contract. That continues, doesn't it? Who else is in there? We got Silver Mountain Construction among a group of 5 companies awarded 5 contracts worth about $98 million. Good for you guys. 550 Roosevelt sailors have now tested positive for COVID-19. This one of just a handful of Teddy Roosevelt stories that are floating around the internet, up to and including is what's his name going to get his job back? Kovitz, right? That was his name. Is he going to get his job back? What do you think?
I don't think he will.
There are people now that his boss, Modley, had gotten is thrown in front of the mass, right? So he gets up and says, well, he was either naive or stupid, and that didn't go over well. And so now they're saying, well, maybe we'll just put Kovitz back and put this whole ugly scene behind us. I don't know. Governor, 960 for the first 13 weeks, then 364 for a week, up to 39 weeks. I suppose the guy to talk to about this might be Congressman Mike Nicholas, who I think is using different numbers or different timelines. So there's another round of shifting sands that we can see there. USS Teddy Roosevelt crew member in ICU at Naval Hospital Guam. Be interesting to get more information on that, see if there's any other comorbidities from an otherwise healthy population. Mayor sees spike in families seeking assistance. Duh. Duh. What? Yeah. Everybody go and make the applications for SNAP. Go ahead and see if that's going to work out for you. And Guam records the 5th death from coronavirus, and that's the headline from Jason Salas. And then it goes on to talk about... and it gives the headline exactly the same way that the JIC puts it out. 5th COVID-19 related fatality. 3 test positive for COVID-19. 17 more recover. In my mind, I want to start now with 17 more recover. Let's put that first. Let's put the recoveries first. Because that in and of itself flattens the curve. Again, we look at the number of confirmed cases, and that number is meaningless. It is meaningless. That just means we tested and we had this many people. And a bunch of them, 58 now today, I understand, have quote, recovered. I don't know, cured is the word, but they're recovered, and we're not going to worry too much about those guys anymore. Unfortunately, we've lost 5 people to the disease, and as I say, we mourn them, and we wish their families comfort in this awful time. And then the rest of it are whatever the number of active cases are. Forget what the math is. Tim knows what the math is. Hey, Tim, how you doing?
Oh, my God, Ray. I don't have enough time to go through the math, but I got like 50,000 things I want to cover with you. First and most important, you were looking for the essential clothes or essential retail stores. That memorandum.
Yeah, what chick is that in?
That's Department of Public Health and Social Service Guidance Memorandum 2020-05.
Thank you.
Instead of going through the essential businesses, it's just a lot easier to go through the ones that are not. There's only 8 non-essential businesses. Okay, and then you have to ask yourself, why? Why are these non-essential?
Clothing and I'll look at. No, we got time here. At 9:50, I'll read them quickly. Clothing and shoe stores, furniture stores, jewelry stores, kiosks, novelty shops, sporting goods stores, vape shops, and video stores and rentals. Why? Go ahead.
Well, if those are the only 8 non-essential retail stores, and that means that all the other businesses are essential. And if you look at the essential list, oh my God, there's so many. Every business qualifies. It's like even novelty shops qualify because they sell face masks. It's almost ridiculous.
No, it is ridiculous. Tim, we have crossed over into ridiculous, I want to say about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the idea now that we've got checkpoints where otherwise people in their cars, windows rolled up, they got to roll the window down and talk to somebody who might have been talking to somebody 4 cars ahead of you that had the coronavirus, maybe handled their driver's license registration and proof of insurance, or whatever documentation got passed back and forth. Now, is it possible that people might be getting coronavirus because of the unintentional and unplanned contact that they had with somebody standing around at the intersections?
Well, that's an absolute great segue into my next response, because I've been teaching my daughter.
Dude, you got it. You know
what's going on.
If I don't get arrested today over at the legislature, give me a ring back first thing tomorrow morning. Mona and I will stop yakking about our stuff about 6:40. But I got to break away. Get the news, bro.
Very well, Ray. Okay.
Check me tomorrow. I want to hear what you've got to say. We're a radio station, KUSG, I got you. This is 93.3, The Point. Here's news.
And 104.3 HD3.
Hit areas. I'm Jane Metzler, Fox News. The U.S. now reporting more than 530,000 COVID-19 cases, with coronavirus deaths topping 20,000. The illness hitting communities of color especially hard.
A new analysis shows blacks and Hispanics in many